pretty much right now. Seattle's been a little bit of a surprise, but
their schedule's been brutal too.
Yeah. I think they'll be okay in the end. I still think all 4 of those teams make the playoffs.
Yep.
Dallas I had picked. Carolina's a surprise at 3-0. Let's see if they're for real as they get into the meat of their schedule, because Tampa we know is for real. New Orleans, I don't know. I don't really have a good feel.
They're hard. I mean, they're just kind of – it's kind of like Jameis Winston's career, right? Like good week, bad week, good week, bad week. It's what it feels like.
Atlanta sucks, but congrats to Arthur Smith on his first win.
Well, somebody had to win that game.
The AFC South, as long as the Titans don't screw it up, I mean, that should be their division to win. The East, the AFC East, Buffalo right now looks to be it. The West is the surprising one. Are the Raiders for real? Are the Broncos for real? Which one do you buy over the other? We said it yesterday. Kansas City's going to get this turned around. Kansas City at 1-2, last in the division, is take a picture because it's not going to last very long.
Yeah, there's no way I'm spending money on buying a mulligan on a Kansas City.
No, Kansas City's going to get that figured out, and they're going to win. They're going to win that division. I think that's going to even itself out before it's all said and done. The AFC North, I still buy Cleveland. I've been saying Cincinnati was going to be better. I still think it's going to even out. They're not going to make the playoffs, but they're 2-1 right now. They're leading the division.
Yep. At Preds0935 tweets at the game and says, "Hey, Darren, you forgot to mention the outstanding tight end for the Giants, Caden Smith. He's a definite plus." Yeah, I really wasn't. That wasn't directed toward Caden Smith. It was directed toward the horrible body language of Saquon Barkley, their wide receiver Kenny Golladay, and their head coach, Joe Judge. Is that it?
Yeah.
Clark Judge.
Joe Judge. I had to think about that for a minute. Who's their head coach?
Judge who?
Judge Judy.
Judge Wapner. That's the body language. There's just a bad aura around them, and it's not directed towards Caden Smith. I can tell you that. So thank you for the tweet. We'll come back. Let's learn a little bit more about this Jets team. Are they ready to talk about the number 1 pick? Are they throwing in the towel on the season? Is it, oh my gosh, Sam Darnold is 3-0. What is the mood up in New York as the Titans set to go up there to take on a winless Jets team? We'll talk to Rich Cimini on the other side as you listen to Darren, Daunic, and Chase, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
And the save made by Saros, and the Predators win it.
Nashville Predators training camp is underway.
The Nashville Predators back in action.
We're closing in on the new season.
They kind of surprised everybody last year, so the natural reaction is they're just going to get better this year.
And your only home for coverage of the Preds is Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Fiero Tequila Habanero is for those who enjoy the flavor of spice, naturally infused with fresh, vine-ripened peppers from farmers in the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico. Fiero Tequila Habanero is unapologetically the spiciest infused tequila available in the U.S. The hand-picked habaneros provide a delicious kick to the smooth Blanco tequila. It's a flavor punch that's perfect as a shot or a spicy way to spice up your hard seltzer, or perfect for a fiery cocktail. Available at fine liquor stores and your favorite drinking establishments. Fiero Tequila, the world belongs to the brave.
Listen up, sports bettors. This is Hall of Famer Warren Sapp here to tell you about my favorite sports book, BetUS.com. I only endorse one sports book, and that's BetUS.com. Just like me, BetUS is the Hall of Famer of online betting with more than 25 years in the biz. Call today, and they will get you set up faster than I can run the 40. I play at BetUS, and so should you. BetUS.com.
Use code GAME for a sign-up bonus.
Tell them Sapp sent you.
Part of the education at Genesis Diamonds is we blow open the door on long-held industry secrets and teach you to buy a diamond like we buy a diamond.
Genesis Diamonds Vice President David Cooper.
We teach you everything that other stores don't want you to know.
For example, did you realize that fancy cut diamonds like emerald cuts, princess cuts, ovals should always cost you significantly less, not more, than a comparably sized round diamond?
If you go to a jewelry store and they tell you that fancy shaped diamonds are more rare and more expensive, that's an immediate red flag. fancy-shaped diamonds are 20% less per carat than the equivalent round diamond.
So before you buy a diamond, learn the facts. Get a no-holds-barred education from the non-commissioned experts at Genesis Diamonds.
There's no secrets. We are an open book. We pride ourselves on our transparency and our education.
Genesis Diamonds, a no-risk, no-pressure, no-nonsense shopping experience. Continuously voted best jewelry store and best place to buy an engagement ring.
Diamonds are our passion. We live this 24/7.
Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Yo, it's Teron Davenport here to tell you about my friends at Freedom Tire Guys. They're Nashville's premier mobile tire company, and they do it all. New tires, balance, rotation, everything. Bill, a recent customer of theirs, loved the way they came to him and saved him time and money. So if you're like Bill, you like convenience, and you need some new tires, check out freedomtireguys.com. If you don't see the tires you like, give them a call, and they'll find them for you. Check them out today at freedomtireguys.com.
This is Stan Harrison, CEO of Apple Collision Centers. We understand that no one likes to deal with auto body repair and the inconvenience it becomes in your day-to-day life. I want to personally invite you to stop by and let our experienced staff see how we can help you make your vehicle look good as new. Apple Collision Center has 3 convenient locations: Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin, ready to serve you. Come by and see us or visit us online at applecollisioncenters.com.
Thursday night.
Score! Ellie Tolman and a laser!
The Nashville Predators preseason continues when they visit the Tampa Bay Lightning. Pre-game at 5:30. Puck drop at 6.
On ESPN.
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey Nashville, this is Laura Rutledge from the SEC Network, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Back here on Darren, Daunic, and Chase on this beautiful Tuesday morning. Probably mid-80s today here in Nashville. Our show is presented by Creation CBD. Creation CBD products curated for life. Let's go to our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Rich Cimini covers the Jets for ESPN, and he is on the line with us. The Titans head up to New York to take on the winless Jets. Rich, good morning. How you doing?
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for doing this. I want to start with something I said in the last segment that I was going to go there with you. What is the mood up there, especially with the success of Sam Darnold in Carolina, at least the start early on for the Panthers? Is that what people are talking about, or are people talking about how Zach Wilson has looked like? What is the storyline to this point up in your market?
Well, I mean, it's hard to get a true pulse of the, people, but, just from reading some social media reaction, yeah, the Darnold situation in Carolina is very much in the narrative here. I mean, I think Sam and Zach Wilson are going to be linked for the rest of their careers from a perspective of your average Jets fan. I mean, that was a monumental franchise decision for the Jets to move on from Sam Darnold and then draft Zach Wilson. So Sam's 3-0. I think fans, the frustration is definitely building. I think the patience is wearing thin after 3 games. Zach Wilson has not played well. Sam has looked pretty good in Carolina. So absolutely, that is part of what fans are talking about now.
It's unfair, and, we don't judge rookie quarterbacks by 3 games, but it was a tough weekend for the rookie quarterbacks in the first round this past weekend. Like, overall right now, what you've seen through the development camps, training camp, preseason, and now through 3 games, what is something or two that you like about what you've seen out of Zach Wilson, and what's something that maybe concerns you early on?
Well, I think he's obviously got the physical talent. I mean, his arm is really good. He can make throws, that a lot of quarterbacks can't. He's just got a strong arm and a very quick release, and he's able to make throws at odd angles, off-balance type plays. He's more athletic than people think. He can move around pretty well in the pocket, escape some pressure. I think those are the positives. The negatives are that, he doesn't know where to throw the ball, and he doesn't know when to throw the ball. He's holding the ball too long right now. He's not in rhythm with the offense. I don't know if he's not trusting his reads or he's not trusting the receiver's routes, but it's not in rhythm. He's like just a beat too late, and it's resulting in some turnovers. And this is going to happen. I mean, he played at BYU. They played a ridiculously soft schedule last year, and so they put him in as a day one starter. There was no competition. There was no semblance of competition. They handed him the job, and he's going to go through growing pains. It's just a fact. And the team around him, I thought they'd be a little better around him, but they have not. They have disappointed as well.
Yeah, and I guess one of those disappointments has to be the running game or lack of. Right, Rich? I mean, they have been able to get nothing going on the ground so far.
Yeah, in 2 of the 3 games, they've had nothing. They ran the ball pretty well against New England, actually, in week 2. They had 150 yards. But on Sunday in Denver, it was zilch. There was no running game. I think they got away from it too early. They only had, I think they ran 53 plays total, and I think only 12 runs. So, I mean, I know the score was one-sided. In the second half, they had to do some throwing, but that is a ridiculously lopsided run-pass ratio when you have a rookie quarterback. You have to do everything you can to get a running game going, and I thought they bailed on it too soon, which did no favors for Zach Wilson.
Yeah, and a guy that we got to know very well here in Nashville. Of course, he was a first-round pick by the Titans, a 5th pick overall, wide receiver Corey Davis. It looks like early on there's chemistry between Wilson and Davis because it looks like that's kind of his go-to guy. Is that fair to say?
Pretty much his only go-to guy right now. I think, I mean, they definitely had in the first week, you saw 2 touchdowns for them in Carolina in the second half as the Jets were trying to come back in that game. But Corey's last 2 games have not been good. He was completely shut down by New England in week 2. He was barely targeted. He had very, very poor production in that game. And in this past week, he had 2 drop passes. And so, so he's been somewhat of a disappointment the last couple of games. But you're right, he's the go-to guy. The problem is they don't really have a good number 2 option. And so it's making things a little tougher on Corey Davis.
Talking to Rich Cimini, covering the New York Jets. And that is the opponent for the Titans coming up in week 4. And Rich, it certainly, as we were saying, it would help the rookie quarterback if you could get a pretty good running game. They've also got a rookie running back in Michael Carter. What about his progress? And if they could set things up around him well, could he be a good tailback going forward long term?
Yeah, he actually started in Denver, and he pretty much split the workload with Ty Johnson. I think that's probably the way they'll go the rest of the year. I think it'll be a pretty even split between those 2. So I think, Carter is he's small. Clearly, he's only 5'8". He's about 205. He runs hard. He does break tackles. He's not just a little scat back. He does have he's a physical runner. He's got good vision. He's got good change of direction. I think he's a pretty good player. I just don't think they're ever going to go to a quote-unquote feature back. I think they're going to stick with their committee system and run guys in and out based on who has the hot hand. It's really incumbent upon the offensive line to play better. Their run blocking against Denver was god-awful. I mean, they were just the guys were getting hit in the backfield. They had 6 runs for negative yardage, so it was just terrible. And so they're going to have to block better for Carter to have a chance.
When you're going through the process the Jets are going through right now, and you've got a new coach and a new staff, I know you're trying to lay that foundation. What signs are you seeing? We know what they want to do with the rookie quarterback, with a lot of young players, with bringing in a guy like Corey Davis. But what kind of foundation are you seeing under this new coaching staff?
So many new players, as you mentioned. I think, they have, depending on the week, they have anywhere from 6 to 8 rookies, playing prominent roles in offense, defense, special teams. So they were leading the league in rookie snaps going into week 3. I'm sure they're still leading the league. And so you're going to go through those ups and downs. Young cornerbacks, their corners are very, very young, rookies and second-year players, and they're going to make mistakes as well. The linebackers, except for C.J. Mosley, are young, and so you're going to see mistakes. And then on offense, we just touched on some of their players who were rookies. Elijah Moore, who won't play this week because of a concussion. He is playing a lot as a rookie. Starting as a rookie, their left guard, Elijah Vera Tucker at a USC, has been a day one starter. So he's had some ups and downs. So this is all about rebuilding for the Jets this year. I don't think anybody – I personally picked them to go 5-12 this year. I'll stick with that, although after days like Sunday, it's you're kind of looking down the schedule thinking, how are they going to get to 5? But, I think Jet fans, for the most part, understand what they're going through. But I think when they see games like Sunday in Denver, they're like, where's the progress? That was a regression. That was a step back. And so there's going to be stops and starts like that all year because of this is who they are.
You led me right into the next question because, Rich, as well as anybody, in New York, it's really hard sometimes to sell a big rebuild where you trade a Jamal Adams or your starting quarterback to get draft picks that may not help you immediately, and you might have to take that step back even though the team has been struggling. If you look around all the franchises in New York, I'm a big Mets fan, sometimes fans get really impatient, right, in a big market like that. So how can they make that work?
It's a great point, and I am a Mets fan too, so I feel that we've sympathized.
Sorry about the last 6 weeks or so. It hadn't been easy, huh?
No, not at all. And of course, the Mets came into the season with expectations. This is not a rebuilding team, and you're right. I think in New York there is, there's really not a tolerance for rebuilding, and I think in the past the Jets have fallen into that trap. I mean, in 2016, they had a bad year in 16, and then in 2017, they basically stripped the roster down, and we were all writing how they were tanking for the number 1 pick, and, it was a rebuild, but then they got away from it. Like the rebuild, all of a sudden they started signing veterans like Tremaine Johnson, who was terrible, and then Le'Veon Bell, who was terrible, and then they drafted the quarterback. They thought, they had Sam Darnold, so that was part of the puzzle. But so they tried to they wanted their cake and eat it too, and so that was the previous regime. So this regime comes in with Saleh and Douglas, and they're basically stripping it down again. But I think there's going to be more of a commitment to it this time. I don't think they're going to deviate from their plan like previous administrations did. So we'll see. There's going to be a lot of pain along the way. The Jets have not been shy about admitting that. They've talked pretty transparently about what they're trying to do, and so it's just a matter of getting the right pieces in place.
Rich Cimini is with us, covers the Jets for ESPN. These guys know I had a huge man crush on Elijah Moore coming out of Ole Miss. I wanted the Titans to take him so bad and was very disappointed when they didn't, but I still think he's going to be something in this league. Do you view his first 3 games as a disappointment or as just a rookie that is on a bad team and he's just working his way into the NFL?
Yeah, he's been a disappointment so far. I mean, in Carolina, he dropped a long pass that it probably would have changed the complexion of the game early on. And so we have not seen the real Elijah Moore yet. I watched him every day in OTAs and training camp. He is a really good player. I think he has a chance to be special in this league. I thought that was a good pick. The Jets were like doing cartwheels in the draft room when he fell to 34. I mean, they absolutely thought Tennessee or a team in the bottom third of the first round would take him. And so they were thrilled to have him. I think I don't know if they're using him correctly. He's been predominantly an outside receiver. I think at Ole Miss he got a lot of his production from the slot. And so, but they're jammed up with slot receivers, so they've been using him outside. I don't know if that's his future in the league, but so yeah, it's been a slow start for him. Like I said, he won't play this week. He's got a concussion, but I still think he's got a very, very bright future.
When talking about coaches and Robert Saleh, as you were mentioning, Mike LaFleur, the offensive coordinator, I know, again, still early, still a lot of things to develop, but are you seeing some signs that, he's going to be –
He is very much like Wilson in that he's a rookie. Mike, of course, comes from a really good football family. His brother, the coach of the Packers. Mike's been around the game. His dad was a college coach. I mean, so he grew up in the game. He's worked with really good people like Kyle Shanahan. So he's, of course, his brother. So he's been around good offense. The Jets are not a good offense right now. They have 20 points in 3 games. That is tied for a franchise low through 3 games. You have to go back to 1976 when Joe Namath was on his last legs and Lou Holtz, Jets coach. They scored 20 points through the first 3 games, and they've had some very, very bad offenses since then, but right now they're at a historic low. So I like Mike. I think he's got a future. but he's struggling right now, just like Zach Wilson. I thought the game on Denver was a head-scratcher. Like I mentioned earlier, they got away from the run too soon. I don't think they put Zach Wilson in positions to succeed. So he's got to get better as well, meaning Mike LaFleur.
Well, Rich, we're going to be talking about this for the next several days and see how it all shakes out on Sunday, but appreciate the time today.
You're welcome. Have a good one.
Rich Cimini covers the Jets for ESPN. The Titans' next opponent coming up on Sundays. We'll be hitting that all week.
Remember, 1976, Lou Holtz did not make it through the entire season. Bailed and then went to Arkansas and rekindled himself as a great college coach.
Yeah. Yeah, well, listen.
20 points in the first 3 games.
That's what NFL coaches do. They bail and go to Arkansas.
Well, I guess, yeah, that theme has been repeated, hasn't it? History has repeated.
Certainly happened. Now, will another prominent college coach that's currently in the NFL bail after 1 year?
You have asked that question, I believe.
I can tell you this. The first week, he had, touch of gray in his hair, and now after losing 3 straight, it's all gray.
It's all gray, so he needs the Keith Hernandez, Clyde Frazier, Just for Men commercial?
Yes.
No play for Mr. Gray?
Just keep in mind, he is dedicated to turning that organization around.
He said there was 0 chance.
You should take Urban Meyer at his word.
I believe every word that comes out of that man's mouth.
You should.
He is honest and just an upstanding individual.
No doubt.
So, yeah. That's how I feel about that.
If you're just new to the show, that was just a hot pile of garbage you disturbed.
Hashtag sarcasm.
Anybody who has listened to the show, they know we were kidding. All right, we'll come back. We'll discuss that a little bit more on this. Interesting things there about the Jets, the next opponent for the Titans. You got to be careful with this where, so many times when everybody's feeling good, it's like, oh, okay, well, you can just send up the practice squad and beat the Jets. That's not how it works in the NFL. We'll discuss on the other side as you listen to the DDC here on ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Titans. Jets. It's time to take care of business in the Big Apple. Tune in Sunday at 9:30 for NFL pregame with Jared Stillman, Chris Sanders, and Mark Howard. Live from Corner Pub in Brentwood. We are Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. More patchy fog possible this morning. Temperatures a little bit warmer, a lot more spots in the 60s. On our way to highs in the middle 80s under mostly sunny skies.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Football is back, and Electronic Express has what you need to make the game bigger than ever. Bring the stadium to you with the best in-home entertainment from Samsung, LG, Sony, Hisense, TCL, and more. Watching the game on the go? Save big on laptops, tablets, and headphones. Plus, we have all your appliance needs up to 50% off, and get up to 36 months free financing. We've got you covered this football season at Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Ever heard of a cold-like virus called RSV? RSV can cause complications in older adults, including pneumonia. The Evergreen study is assessing if an investigational study vaccine can prevent RSV disease caused by a respiratory syncytial virus in older adults. If you're 60 years of age or older, you may be able to join the Evergreen study. Visit clinicalresearchassociates.com/RSV to learn more. That's clinicalresearchassociates.com/RSV.
Your home value is way up this year, and with mortgage rates back to all-time lows, it's a great time to call Loan Pronto. Refinance now and get cash out of your home's equity. Hey, it's Willie Daunic. Loan Pronto can refinance your loan at a super low rate. They can pay the closing costs for you and get you a bunch of cash out. How does $40,000 or $50,000 sound? Don't just sit on that home's new value. Use it. Use it to pay off credit cards. Use it to consolidate other debt. Get rid of PMI. Use IT to make your home even more valuable with that home improvement project you've been dreaming about. Loan Pronto's all-digital platform makes it fast and easy. And if you act now, you can even skip your next 2 house payments. Call Loan Pronto now, 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Ask about the Loan Pronto zero-cost cash-out refi. LoanPronto.com, 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender. NMLS 1661781. Subject to lender approval. Zero-cost option not available on all loans.
Hey, it's Chase McCabe of Darren, Daunic, and Chase. Your favorite game, Silly Underdog Picks, it's back. Get your friends and sign up to play today. Pick 3 football underdog teams each week that you think will win outright for a chance to win weekly prizes. Then go to thegamenashville.com or the ESPN The Game Nashville mobile app and sign up and play. Then tune in every Thursday at noon on our show to hear former NFL players Chris Sanders and Kelly Holcomb plus Darren McFarland and yours truly make our picks. It's Silly Underdog Picks, presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket.
Jared Stillman.
It's kind of a big deal around here. Kind of a big deal in these parts.
And company.
It's not just the trust, it's the way he gets open, and it's the routes that he runs.
Tune in Stillman and Company for your drive home. Delivered by TriStar Moving. Weekday afternoons from 2 to 6 on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Interact with Darren, Daunic, and Chase. Call or text the show at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
Don't forget you can join us. We partnered with the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society's Light the Night. Light the Night brings light to darkness of cancer through hope, research, and support for patients and families. That means a lot to this show, and I know it means a lot to you out there. Through this inspirational nationwide movement, we want to raise awareness and funding for groundbreaking research and treatment for options to eliminate cancer. Nashville's Light the Night will be virtual and take place on November 4th. You can learn more at lightthenight.org/TN. All right, good conversation there with Rich Cimini, who covers the Jets for ESPN. Scott Corley, Belmont's AD. They have made a big announcement we'll tell you about in about 25 minutes. Also, Vince Ferrara in the second hour of the program as the Vols head to Missouri to take on the Tigers. So we'll get into all that and react to what he saw in the Florida game. So this is one of those games where you have to be careful. We see it all the time in the NFL, right? Where you go, oh, well, that's why it's so hard. That's why BetMGM, as we talked about on that day at First Horizon Park on that Wednesday show, was willing to pay out $736,000 on a $25 16-team NFL parlay. It's hard. Just picking the winner. Forget the spread. Think about it. That person just did money line. You just pick the winner. And they were willing to – it paid out $736,000 if you did it 16 times right. Just picking a winner. That's how hard the NFL is off a $25 bet. So you have to be careful. You have to be careful going, oh. Now, should the Titans go up there and take care of business? Well, of course. Would we all be stunned if they lost? Yes, of course. But let's not act like this is going to – every game in the NFL is not going to be 36-3, right? I mean, I get it. The Bills are like a 17-point favorite over Houston because right now the Bills are dismantling teams the last 2 weeks. But I suspect, guys, this is not going to be easy. I know it should be easy, and we all think that they should go up there and just march right through the Jets and hurry up and get on the plane and come back to Nashville, and they're 3-1. And they probably will be 3-1 afterwards. But I just don't think it's going to be that easy. Do you agree or disagree?
I always like to say, take a look at the spread. The spread is not 21.
7.5.
7.5. So you just heard Rich Cimini describe where the Jets are. They were a mess before, and they have gone even younger and more of a rebuild, even taking a step back to take the steps forward that they need because they have tried to rebuild quickly and failed many times. And at the same time, it's about a touchdown game. Think about that in terms of a comparison to when a supposed contender meets a rebuilding team in college. You see spreads 4 or 5 touchdowns. this is the NFL, and the talent difference, even between the best and the worst, isn't even close to that. And we see, I think you guys said it the other day, the Texans are a big-time mess, and they're only like a 14-point underdog. But still, that's way more than 7.5. So the odds makers, they're not saying here, hey, the Titans are some juggernaut that are just going to go up there and just destroy the Jets, even though we're all sitting here going, boy, you should win this game.
Well, and they should win this game, but I think they're factoring in, A.J. Brown is week to week with the hamstring, what's being called a hamstring strain. Nobody knows what's going on with Julio Jones, what tight means, and why he was kept out of the fourth quarter. And
I'm glad you brought that up, Chase. You want to know what happened to me since we last spoke on the air?
Are you tight? We
No.
need to hold.
Yes, every day.
Do we need to hold you out for the fourth quarter of the show?
Every day I deal with tightness. My phone may have rang once or twice.
You heard from some people, didn't you?
And imagine that from an area code down in Georgia.
The 404?
And without you guys knowing the conversation, what do you think the first words? There were 2 phone calls, to be exact. What do you think the first words? Almost identical. It's like they were standing next to each other.
I think they were 3 words, or 4 words.
Yes.
I told you so.
Yep. Those were the exact. It was the same phone call, just 2 different numbers. I don't want to say it, but I'm going to. And I was like, I know. Go ahead. I told you so. I was like, yep. He was like, get ready. This is what you guys are going to deal with. And this is what Mike Vrabel was trying to avoid yesterday at the press conference.
Yep.
Because there's no way, as I said yesterday, you can convince me that Mike Vrabel's like, this game's in the bag. Yeah, we'll worry about it. We'll save Julio. No, that's the game was not in the bag. That's not whatever's going on. And I'm not saying that there's something between those two. I'm saying this is what we've been talking about. And for the listener yesterday that texted in and says, I don't buy this stuff, that's fine. That's okay. This is a conspiracy. Why are you guys out to get Julio? Well, we're not out to get Julio. Well, we were pro Julio to come here. But, you do have to listen to people that covered him his entire career in the NFL before getting here, and especially people that you trust. In my case, I trust these people. They know what they're talking about. And if they're like, buyer beware, this is the stuff he was doing the last couple of years in Atlanta, you have to at least take that into consideration, because we would say everything that has been told to us. By the way, what was the reaction? Let's backtrack for just a minute. What was the reaction whenever the Titans acquired Vic Beasley last year? We went down to Atlanta, talked to the same friends of the show. What did they all say?
I don't know about that one. What are you doing?
Yeah, I know you guys are
Doesn't
excited
seem like he
about
loves football.
Vic Beasley, but I don't know if you guys are going to love that one at all. 9.5 minutes. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I can't paint a rosy picture on that one. Well, you have to at least consider it, and we all know how that played out. The stuff that was being said about Julio, doesn't like to practice, checks out of games, not going to be around much. We'd have to say to this point, there's a little bit of that factoring in, isn't it? I'm not willing to go, it's like all been that way. I mean, I get it. Before Sunday, he'd played a pretty significant amount of snaps. Is that fair to say through the first 2 weeks?
Yeah.
I think if you extrapolate out these 3 games,
good word.
Yes,
I think you would take
strong.
I think you would take this, especially if your mindset is, let's make sure we have him down the stretch, and then, knock on wood, theoretically, into a postseason. It's a long season. You got 17 weeks now, not 16. He's 32. I think some smarts in terms of when to push it and when not is the right mindset with him, especially because Nick Westbrook-Akina is a good player. That's the one thing that's been a revelation here. The opportunities that have been there for him, he's doing the job.
Yeah,
so a combination of the two is good. Julio Jones does not have to catch 100 passes for them to get to the playoffs.
Right, but you want him out there in the fourth quarter.
Something happened on Sunday. I don't think there's any way around it. There should have been Joe Rexrow pointed this out. There should have been an injury report. Like why is Julio Jones out? In the press box they usually announce, and on the telecast, he's out, tightness and whatever, questionable return. They didn't do that, so there was definitely some stuff going on there. And I believe that this is going to come up more than once this year. But I think the goal is have him ready to go when the big games start happening down the stretch and into the playoffs. That's when it's most important. They might be good enough offensively for them to do it this way, where he plays some, shares time, the other guys are doing the job, and you win enough games to win this division.
Yeah, but
how's that worked out for Ryan Johansson since he's been with the Predators? Hasn't that always been? It's like, why can't he does, okay, great, he's turning on in the playoffs or down the stretch. Well, why can't he do it for the entire season, right? So you think that people are going to lay off Julio Jones?
If the team's winning. If they're winning.
Well,
that's the answer.
The Predators were winning. Did that stop people from saying that about Ryan Johansson? That narrative? No. They were going to the playoffs every year. They were doing just fine, and people still were like, why can't he do it all year? Why can't he do it for 82? Why can't that Ryan Johansson do it for 82 games? That right? I'm not making this up. I mean, we've seen all the feedback and heard all the feedback. That's what people have been saying this for years. Why would it be any different for Julio Jones?
And if you're just looking simply at the numbers through 3 games, 12 receptions, 204 yards, okay, it's not bad.
No,
you take that. But is this going to continue to be a thing? And I'm sure everybody that you talked to yesterday, Darren, is saying this is a thing. You're going to deal with this. It's going to continue to be a thing. It's not going to go away. Vrabel can use whatever verbiage he wants with he got tied, or he made a decision and yada yada yada. There's more to it. And so my concern is whether something happened or not, the fact that he wasn't available in the fourth quarter is concerning, because if A.J. Brown is not there, you want to be able to say, okay, well, Julio is there. I am going to be watching for the injury report tomorrow to see if Julio's on it.
Naturally. Everybody will. It's a big concern. But I'm just saying
what will it
that
say?
You have
Tightness?
to.
So
he's tight. What's tight?
I have no idea what they're going to do. They know Mike Vrabel knows something. He knows what happened, and he tried his best to minimize what he knew was going to be a big thing and will continue to be a big thing.
But he makes it a bigger thing by tiptoeing around.
I don't know. I don't know.
Does.
I think it's a big thing no matter what he says, because the fact is he had his helmet on. He wasn't reported unless they just made up an injury. That could have been what they did at the time. He's out. He can't play. But they made it sound like he could have come in an emergency or something. We don't know what was going on behind the scenes. Regardless, it's what everybody's going to be talking about. No matter what he said, everybody's going to be talking about it because it's Julio Jones and because of the past, because of what we have learned of what did happen in Atlanta. There's no way to avoid this being a topic on a team that's a good team, that's trying to win a Super Bowl, that has high expectations. You cannot avoid it being discussed. That's what Mike Vrabel has to start with, how he strategizes talking about it. It's going to be a thing every week, I think. But as long as they're winning, and as long as Nick Westbrook-Ikhine continues to be a good player, it's not a big problem right now.
By the way, they beat the Colts. It's a huge win for them to put them 0-3. It's a division win, and that's what people have been talking about for 2 days. So did the winning calm that down? I don't think the winning is taking care of the Julio Jones.
What are we talking? What are we talking about right now? What have we been talking about for 2 days?
Yes, but it would be times 2 if they were 1-2 right now, not 2-1. Had they lost that game on Sunday, it'd be a whole nother level, and you know it.
I would
sure.
Yeah,
you're not wrong there.
The fact is, Westbrook-Ikhine has been very efficient. He's catching everything. He had the one fumble, which screwed everything up. Not one game. He had a very good first game.
I'm not willing to go as far as you are with him.
He was targeted. He was targeted twice. 1 reception for 10 yards against Arizona,
and a touchdown, which was a touchdown. That's
no,
not
it wasn't.
nothing.
No, it wasn't.
Against Arizona,
he got to one touchdown. Okay, he got to the 1 yard line. He got a big first down on a third down. He's a good player. He is a very good player.
I don't know.
I'm not well. Yeah, I've been impressed so far, but I'm not.
He has 171 yards in his career, and 1 touchdown.
Well, he can't help anything that happened before this year.
I know, but
he's getting a chance to play. He's a good player.
So you
don't know. How do you know that?
He's going to be an important player going forward.
Really?
He's going to be a very important player going forward with A.J. Brown out for a while, because it doesn't look like Josh Reynolds is doing himself any favors. It really looks like this kid is now going to be a major part of the game plan for the next several weeks.
I don't know how you can go there when we've seen this before. We've seen all these guys we've talked about on the show have the Cam Batson, Nick Williams. We can go down the list of all these guys that emerged for a couple weeks, and that's it. I mean, you can't depend on them for Khalif Raymond. I mean, you can't do that for 17 weeks. I'm not willing to say, I hope you're right. By the way, I hope he catches more touchdowns. I like the Billy White Shoes Johnson. I hope that's his new touchdown dance, if he catches touchdowns, more touchdowns. I like that. But I'm not – the guy has like 3 catches. I'm not willing to oh, my gosh, this is going to be a guy that they can absolutely – they're going to be using the rest of the season, because we've seen this before. We've seen a guy emerge, have a couple really good games, and everybody gets really excited, and then they kind of disappear. They're not in the plans.
Is he a flash in the pan, or is he somebody that can be a contributor? I don't know that. I can't give you a definitive answer, because, like he said, I've seen him have 1 good game. That was the best game of his very, very short career. I know they're high on him. He's he made the team. He's stuck around. He appeared at times last year. He had a very good camp, which led to him making the team. Those are all positive things. But now it's the big time. And if you take away Julio Jones, you take away A.J. Brown, you put him in more of a prominent role, can he do it or can he not?
We're going to find out. But if you thought that you were just going to line up A.J. Brown and Julio Jones every game for 17 games, that would not have been a very good plan. They had to be thinking about this, and it has happened early, and it is going to be an issue all year, I believe. But there's got to be some maintenance. There's got to be some thought that we have to be able to win games and get to this tournament, because to beat the big teams, we've got to have A.J. Brown and Julio Jones healthy. They can't play at 75% every week and get to where they want to go. So that's where the only way you find out if a guy can get it done is if he gets in there and plays. Like Derek Mason, they had Yancey Thigpen. And because Yancey Thigpen kept getting hurt and he could never stay out there, that allowed a Derek Mason to get in there. And then they figured out, you know what, Derek Mason's way better than Yancey Thigpen.
But I think you knew more of what you had.
He was a draft pick. He was a 4th-round draft pick. This guy's undrafted.
He was a draft pick, and you knew what you had in a special teams player. Yeah. And so the thought
not the first year.
In 99?
His first year was 98.
Yeah. Or no, I think
maybe
his first year was 97.
Yeah. So he was there. He had been on the roster for years.
But he stuck around. He kept making the team because of his special teams ability. And so then, he's the next man up, because it wasn't just I think Chris had gotten hurt. I mean, they had a ton of injuries. Dyson got hurt. And so they had to go to Derek. But they knew he had been there. He was in the system. He and Heimerdinger gelled from the get-go, and it all came together. But he had been around. This guy has been here 2 years. He's an undrafted guy. You're sitting here saying he's good. I have no idea. Maybe he is. I hope you're right.
You're now comparing him to Derek Mason. I mean, this is quite a leap for you to go head first into the pool without checking for water. I mean, I suspected that would be me or Chase that would do that, not you, Coach.
See, there you go with your hyperbole. I didn't say he's the next Derek Mason. I said that there are you were talking about all these cases where there are flashes in the pan. I'm talking about there are cases as well, like Derek, where a guy just needs to get a chance to play, and then you find out the guy can play.
Well, yeah, but haven't we found out that Mike Vrabel, it's Nick Westbrook-Ikhine 1 week, and then if A.J. Brown is still out and Julio Jones is still tight, then the next week it could be Chester Rogers.
Chester Rogers is going to play the same role.
You know what? Week 8, it's Racey McMath who was out there on Sunday.
I do not think that they want to play.
Then it's Cameron Batson.
I think Westbrook-Ikhine is way ahead of racing
What
McMath.
have you seen that is giving you this? All of a sudden, he's the third. He is going to be their third option.
It's the way they've used him. Every time that Julio Jones comes out, it's him that comes in. Chester Rogers has been the slot guy that has basically won the job that Josh Reynolds was supposed to win. That's how they're using the 3 wide receiver sets. And so now that A.J. Brown is out, that's what I'm curious about is how do they game plan this week? If they have Westbrook, Akina, and Jones, can they – does Westbrook, Akina know that position that A.J. Brown is playing? That's the next step. With him probably being out for the next few games, is who do they put there? Because they had to use McMath. Or is this the opening that Josh Reynolds needs to actually get back in the plan here? If he doesn't get back in the plan this week, then it ain't going to happen. I don't think for him. Then that means he's really in the doghouse or has some health concern that we don't know about because, they needed the special teams guys. Reynolds does not play special teams. And so that's where Rodgers and Batson got a lot of the reps when A.J. went out. Yeah. Right? Batson went in there and took that. Now, Batson, he's limited in what he's going to be able to do. Can he get down the field and maybe catch a pass or two? Yeah, but I see Westbrook Akina as a guy that he's got the build to be able to do what they need in this offense. And that's, with the catch radius and be able to catch those intermediate routes.
Sure.
To set things up for the running game, which is how they're going to have to win.
Look, I hope you're right, Willie. I do. I think he's a great story. I think Chase and I are on the same page. Like I'm just not ready to go there. I don't think I'm seeing exactly what you're seeing. And like I said, I hope you're right. I think he's a great story. We'll need to see. I need to see some more. Like let's see it again, and then maybe another time. And then I'll see if I can get to where you are. But maybe you're just ahead of us on Nick Westbrook-Akini. I'm just not willing to. When you just think about Mike Vrabel since his time here, it's hard to figure out who they really like because they bounce around a lot, and that's actually turned out to be a strength of theirs. They're not afraid. I mean, who would have ever raise your hand if you thought Racey McMath would be in there last week?
Not me.
It was the last resort.
If you thought you would see Racey McMath Sunday against the
Colts. There's a guy on the practice squad that I think will be in this Sunday.
If you told me that Brown and Jones would be unavailable in the fourth quarter, I would have said, well, yeah, they got to have Racey. Somebody's got to go and stand on the field and be the fourth guy. Yeah. That's why you have.
But he had a good camp. They like him. I mean,
he's really in there for special teams.
Yeah, but he did. You have to, even though you're a special teams guy and that's going to be your primary role, you have to do enough in the offense to give them confidence to say, okay, well, if we got to put you in there, we'll put you in there.
All right, we'll come back. We will start the second hour by telling you some news about the Belmont Bruins. But first, Willie, preseason is underway. Predators have already had a double dip down in Sunrise, and they're going to be home on Saturday, and you're going to tell everybody about the Preds.
The Predators are underway in the training camp. It's exciting, and they want you to know that the season ticket sales are important right now. They want you back in the flow. 82 games, 6 October home games, 6 home games in March. Remember, there's the Olympic break, so it's really going to compress the schedule. There's a lot of great dates you can jump in on, especially early in the season, and we want you to explore all the ways you can come on down to Smashville and enjoy this season coming up. A lot of good young players coming up through the system. A lot of the superstars like Roman Josi still there. And it's going to be fun. It is a wide open Central Division when you get down right to it. So we want you down there. Remember, Ticketmaster.com for the single game tickets. Those are out there. But the best deals are always for those who join the Loyal Legion in some form. Whether it be a partial or full season ticket plan, they will work with you on what is available to you and what the right price range is for you, and you get the best deals and so many great benefits when you're part of the season ticket plan. So go to NashvillePredators.com/tickets to get all the info, and we will see you. And let me add this, as I always do. Remember the outdoor game this year, the Stadium Series, February 26th against the 2-time defending champion, Tampa Bay Lightning. That's one that you're going to circle on your calendar. Everybody wants to be at that game, and the best way to guarantee that you get your seats is by being a member of the Loyal Legion. NashvillePredators.com/tickets. We'll see you down in Smashville.
The voice of reason.
It was a horrible start, and yes, it killed that drive and just kind of sent them spiraling downward the rest of the way.
The voice of the fan.
You cannot go 2 drafts in a row where you get nothing out of a draft.
The voice of Nashville sports is your home of Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Hey, it's Jared from my friends at Hiller. There's no better time to upgrade your essential home systems than this month with Hiller. They're offering credits for your old home systems. Trade in your old HVAC unit and earn up to $1,500 in credits towards a select new system. Upgrade from a standard water heater to a tankless water heater and earn up to $500 with your trade. Trade up to a new electrical panel and earn up to $500 in credits for your old one. Their work is backed by the Happy You'll Be or Services Free guarantee. Their technicians are continuing to take measures to keep you and your family safe and healthy on every single call. Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical, proud sponsors of the Nashville Predators, Vanderbilt, and the Tennessee Volunteers.
Back in 1949, Dr. Houston began the tradition of treating athletes for common sports injuries. Today, the sports medicine physicians at Houston Clinic Orthopedics continue his legacy. Whether you play at school, in a league, on a professional team, or just enjoy being active, Houston Clinic Orthopedics physicians are there to help you stay in the game. Common sports injuries include tears, strains, sprains, and instabilities of the knee, shoulder, and ankle. Houston Clinic Orthopedics is located where you work and live. Visit tn.houston.com to book your appointment online. When experience matters, trust Houston Clinic Orthopedics.
Ever shop for a diamond only to have the jeweler tell you he doesn't have what you're looking for in stock, but he can get one brought in for you in a few days?
They hear it again and again. Oh, I don't have it. I can get it for you. Give me few days, see what I have for you. Let me call my dealer.
That's Genesis Diamonds owner Boaz Ramon, who says when you hear that, you're in the wrong place.
When you go to other places and they don't have it in stock, that means this is not their specialty. Why do you want to go to a restaurant and wait for them to order the food from somebody else?
But at Genesis, they do specialize in diamonds, and they have them. Thousands, all shapes, all sizes, all in stock every day.
We're ready for you. You want to come and get a 3 carat, 4 carat, 1 carat? We have
is their business.
That's what we think, breathe, and sleep.
Green Hills and Cool Springs.
I'm Boaz Ramon, and my accent is always on value.
Contest rules for 102.5 The Game and ESPN 94.9, including on-air, online, and text-based contests, are available by visiting the contest rules page at thegamenashville.com. Good luck, and thanks for listening to 102.5 The Game and ESPN 94.9.
Nashville's best sports talk, locally owned, home of our Nashville Predators. WPRT-FM Pegram, 97.5 Murfreesboro, WBUZ HD2 Laverne, online at thegamenashville.com. We are
ESPN
102.5 The Game. Live from the Game Nashville studios, it's time for Darren, Daunic, and Chase. With hosts Darren McFarland, Willie Daunic, and Chase McCabe. On Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game.
Second hour, Darren, Daunic, and Chase here on this gorgeous Tuesday. Hope everybody's having a good day thus far. Darren McFarland, Willie Daunic, Chase McCabe with you. Don't forget, you can watch us streaming live Monday through Friday on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube every day during the week. Our video streaming is brought to you by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. Let's head over to the campus at Belmont. The Bruins have news you can use, and to pass that news along, their athletics director, Scott Corley, is on the line with us. Scott, how you doing?
I'm doing great. It's a great day.
I was going to say, if you didn't have anything other than that as your answer, I would probably tilt my head like my dog when he hears a weird noise. Like, what? Let's just start with, how did all this begin? Obviously, we know there's been a shakeup in the OVC. Austin Peay announced they're leaving. You already had members leaving last year in Eastern Kentucky and Jacksonville State. But I guess just kind of take us through the process, if you could.
Yeah, I think it really started probably in our campus, where we had a change in leadership. Dr. Fisher retired after 20 years. We brought in Dr. Greg Jones, and I think whenever a new president joins a university, they probably get calls from different conference commissioners. And so the Missouri Valley also has a new conference commissioner in Jeff Jackson. And so Jeff, doing his job, reached out to Greg and, took the opportunity to say, hey, I know you're new. We'd love to talk to you, tell you a little bit about what the Missouri Valley is and looking to do. And, Greg reached out to me, asked my opinion on that. I said, given all that is going on in, the NCAA Division I with conference affiliation, I think we would be wise to at least talk and see what those conversations sound like. And, those things kind of sped up, certainly. We had a really good talk with Jeff initially, loved his vision, loved the idea that it's a basketball-centric conference. While they play football, it is about basketball for them, which aligns with us. They want to grow in metropolitan markets. Obviously, Nashville is very attractive to them. And then they understood our, just what we've done athletically and academically. And so we really had a good conversation. Then we had the site visit with some presidents. They liked what they saw. We continue to like what we heard. And, this thing kind of certainly moved quick. And some of that is, there is some instability at the OVC. And, when Austin Peay made their decision, we had to really decide, how quickly did we want to move. We actually thought it was in the best interest for all parties to move quicker than not. And so that got us here in a short amount of time. I think all that started probably in mid-June, and here we are a couple months later. So it went fast, but it's the right decision for us, and I think that's what allowed it to move fast. Is anyone I talked to on the board, chairman of the board, all the trustees, they just said this is a no-brainer. We need to do it.
I know what you just laid out with the uncertainty of the OVC conference. Or OVC, that's redundant. I don't know why I said OVC conference.
That was the Woody Woodenhofer move right there.
It's like, let me go to the ATM machine. Redundant. So
NIT tournament.
Yes, that one too. We could go on and on. Sorry, Scott. I digress. So when you talk about the uncertainty of the conference that you're currently in, but how much of it with the success of Rick Byrd and the success of Casey Alexander now and the success of the basketball program, like people around the country are now fully aware of Belmont basketball. And we all know the OVC, it was just very, very, it was going to take unusual set of circumstances to get two teams. You knew going in you had to win the tournament or else, right? You weren't getting in the NCAA tournament. Well, I don't believe that's the case with the Missouri Valley Conference. I mean, they're pretty darn strong conference, and they've got some really good teams. The fact that they can get multiple teams in the NCAA tournament, did that factor into this at all?
Oh, that's 100%. I mean, this move is more about moving our program forward and getting into a conference like the Missouri Valley. So I do want to make that clear. That was a huge part of it, and it's, not just basketball, but that's the most important, certainly, and it's men's and women's basketball, and that is very attractive. I mean, obviously, the year we had last year, going 26-4 and not even getting an NIT bid, was very sobering, and it speaks to, you got to win those 3 games in Evansville from the OVC, where now it gives you a little margin of error. Now, the offset to that, Darren, is, the likelihood that we're going to win 21 games in a row in a conference like the Missouri Valley is going to be a lot more challenging than the 21 games we won last year, non-conference and conference. But you get my point. And really, when you look at the Missouri Valley, it's not just basketball. I mean, volleyball's had multi-bids in 15 out of the last 17 years. Men's soccer's had 17 years of at-large bids. And so I do think it gives all of our student-athletes a greater opportunity to get into the NCAA tournament, which we all know that's what these student-athletes want to experience. But what's exciting on the basketball side is once you get in the tournament, since 2012, the Missouri Valley is 12-1 in first-round NCAA tournament games. So you go in with a greater opportunity to win. You'll get a higher seed, more than likely, because the strength of schedule is better. And you've just been hardened by coming through a very challenging conference schedule. I think it gives you a better chance to win. And as as our programs in basketball continue to grow, that's the next step for us, right? Win a game or two in that NCAA tournament on the men's side, and for the women to continue, to win that second game and get to the Sweet 16. So I think the Valley gives us that opportunity.
What's your mindset, Scott, watching this shift all around you? The music's playing and everybody's, looking for a chair to sit in before the music stops with these conferences, and everybody's, scrounging everywhere, and there's this shift everywhere that's been going on in athletics. What do you make of that? And where do you think ultimately this is all going? Is this going to eventually settle down, or are you a little surprised at what's been going on over the last, let's say, 6 months or so, 6 months or a year?
Well, I mean, certainly Texas, Oklahoma caught everybody by surprise in the industry, and that has led to a lot of this, where did the dominoes, end up? And you can see the shifts going on. It does have a domino effect when you have two schools like that make that move. The reaction from the Big 12 was understandable. They're trying to stay together, so they're going to poach, and it just kind of leads from there. So in a way, I'm not surprised once those two moves were announced. And, I think at the end of the day, every school's got to look at their own situation and decide, what is the best fit for them. Leaving conferences is not easy. I can tell you that. I'm doing it. It's not easy. It's not an easy decision. And you got some commissioners that are out there, trying to do different things. And, the ASUN has a certain strategy, and, I'm fully confident that Beth and the OVC will find some schools to join the OVC to stabilize those types of things. So it's definitely, as an AD, you've got to keep your eyes and ears open, and ultimately you got to do what you think is best for your own program.
Talking to Scott Corley, athletics director at Belmont. They have announced that they're headed to the Missouri Valley Conference. And Scott, I wonder too, just the flow of travel and the way the league is spread out. I know you probably put a lot of thought into that, but tell me how different that will be for the kids. To go from a much more regional, compact, geographic league like the OVC to what is going to be.
Yeah, that's certainly the biggest change for us. And that was one of the things we loved about the OVC. It was a bus league. You could, a lot of times we just drive up the day of a game, play the game, and drive back. So it's, student athletes weren't missing as much class, those types of things. But, as the OVC continues to go through change, the schools that they may bring in may not be such a geographic fit either. You lose a Jacksonville State, 3.5 hours, Eastern Kentucky, 3.5 hours. You lose Austin Peay, obviously 45 minutes. So, when you weigh kind of the increased travel, and there's no doubt it will be, Northern Iowa, Drake, Missouri State. I mean, those are plane rides and then some bus rides, on top after the plane lands. But I do think, when you weigh all the pros and cons and you look at the different type of markets that we're going to be able to get in with Chicago and St. Louis, where they've hosted the men's basketball tournament 32 years in a row, those are really attractive markets. That St. Louis, 4.5 hours away. I mean, you got Evansville, you've got Southern Illinois. I mean, you still have some schools that are busable, but clearly, and we knew that was part of the decision tree, is we knew there'd be more travel, which would lead to some increased cost. And, we also understand that our student athletes may miss a little bit more class time, but knowing our student athletes, they will continue to take care of business in the classroom. We've got, we've won the academic trophy 18 out of the last 20 years in the conferences we were in. So I think we can cover that. But, in some ways, some of these kids may be excited to get on a plane and go play somewhere.
Sure.
But that is the biggest change, Willie, no doubt.
Yeah, and certainly where they're playing, they have some great atmospheres with crowds and things like that. And that was my next question too. It's always fun to watch a game on TV where you're at a place where the people care. Like in that region of the country, man, they love their college basketball, and that is the main thing to do in those towns. So I'm curious too, Scott, the exposure about, television and things like that. I know a lot of the games these days, regardless of the league, are streamed. But what about television exposure and maybe what that will do to non-conference scheduling opportunities for you?
Yeah, I mean, they are also a part of ESPN Plus, but they do have, some media contracts with Bally's and I think the Fox Sports in Chicago, which will give us certainly different exposure to help, the media contract. I'm still learning some of the nuances, Willie, but I believe it comes due in 25 or, 2025. And so I think adding us, gives hopefully a little bit more potential to negotiate a more favorable media contract and things like that. But that is clearly part of it. And you're right. I mean, the venues we're going to get to play in and the crowds and the energy that's going to be in those buildings, I think our student athletes are going to really value. As an example, Evansville, which hasn't had the most success in men's basketball, they still average over 5,000 fans a game. And so they come out and support. So all of that is exciting. The media markets, I do believe, are going to be better. It's still predominantly going to be a lot of ESPN Plus, but just the men's basketball tournament championship game is on national TV, CBS. So that right there is exciting to think about.
We're talking to Scott Corley, the athletic director at Belmont, as they announced they'll move to the Missouri Valley Conference beginning in the fall of 2022. Willie asked about non-conference scheduling. Obviously, there is one game has been two games that are very important to people around here. How do you anticipate this affecting the Lipscomb rivalry? Is only one game going to be played between the two schools this year? I know it's very early in the process, but how would you view that moving forward?
Yeah, I don't see the non-conference schedule changing much, Chase. I mean, with 11 schools, I would assume the Missouri Valley will play each school twice, so that's 20 conference games. The OVC has historically been 18. We went to 20 last year just with the COVID season. So it still affords us some opportunities, and certainly the Lipscomb game is important to both us and Lipscomb. And so I don't see that game changing at all. If anything, maybe I may be way ahead of myself here, but, Murray becomes a non-conference game, and maybe we could schedule, Murray home and homes or, every year kind of rotating places to try to keep that great rivalry. So I don't think it changes a whole lot with our non-conference schedule and the way our coaches go about scheduling. They want to play really good, tough non-conference schedules. I think it'll help prepare us for the Missouri Valley. So I think right now, and I don't want to speak for Casey and Bart, but that's kind of where my mindset is.
Obviously, the future is very exciting with this announcement and joining the Valley, but you have to be excited about this upcoming season as well when it comes to, especially talking about the men's basketball team, what Casey has put together, all the players coming back. How pumped are you to get this thing going?
We're very excited. If anything, trying to keep our expectations in check because, we think it has the potential to be a very, very special year. Obviously, we got a lot of talent coming back, a lot of, great coaching with Casey at the helm. We've got a great schedule that affords us the opportunity to really make some noise on a national level if we can win. I think it all aligns, but we all know it's sports, it's athletics. We got to stay healthy. You got to make sure you don't have a bad call go against you, for everything to fall in place. But we're as optimistic as ever. It'll be fun to see us in the Orlando tournament. Our first round game is against Drake, which will be a conference opponent next year, and they're picked in the top 3 of the Valley, so that'll be a good measuring stick for us. And if we can win that game, we'll probably play Alabama, and who knows? I just feel very, very confident with the coaching staff and the type of just players we got back. Mix of experience and youthful talent. And so, yeah, I'm just trying not to get too ahead of myself. But it'll be fun.
No doubt about it, and we're looking forward to it. I know you got to wait a little bit until next year, but big news nonetheless. Thanks for joining us and passing all that information along, and we'll talk to you down the road.
Always a pleasure, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks.
That is Scott Corley, Belmont Athletics Director. It is huge news. Currently, they've got Illinois State, Southern Illinois, Bradley, Valpo, Evansville, was it Northern Iowa, Indiana State, Missouri State, Drake, and Loyola in that basketball conference. There's no football.
Loyola, yes, that Loyola. Remember that?
Is it Loyola of Chicago,
yes.
Sister Jean?
Oh, yes. They will be in that league.
Oh, wow.
That is their league.
That's going to be fun.
By the way, Sister Jean, I think last time I checked, is 102 years old. That is awesome.
Oh, yeah.
It's
awesome
it really is, I think, a very special basketball league. There's so much credibility, I think, even though the teams have changed. Like Wichita State was a big staple in that league for a long, long time, and they're not there anymore. But, that league, regardless of the change, you go back to Indiana State, with Larry Bird. You got some history in that league, and in places to play that have some history and have a following. It's going to be fun. And I'll tell you, this particular Belmont team, I believe, are a top 25 team. I think as stacked as they are, let's see how they do in these non-conference games, because that's the test. Like he just said, they're going to get a chance to play some teams that they couldn't play last year. Mm-hmm. But they absolutely annihilated their competition for the most part last year. I think they're good enough to win some of these games. I think they could get some traction as a top 25 team this year.
I hate to say this because I hate this for the OVC, but, with all these departures and the uncertainty, who knows?
It's kind of caught me by surprise. I did not know that this was coming.
But here's the deal, though. I think this is actually the best thing because this is a great landing spot for them. Like, as much as I love, OVC here in our backyard, but that push because of that, you just heard Scott say it. Missouri Valley gets multiple teams in, right, in the NCAA
they
tournament.
Have
like, you do not have to
much
win
easier.
Their tournament. They've had some really good years where they had really good teams. People were talking about the Missouri Valley Conference a lot when it comes to basketball. So I just think in the end this is going to be – so that makes them 11 members. My guess is they'll probably try to pull one more in, right, make it a 12-team league, wouldn't you think?
I would think so.
Or try for Murray State.
Murray
State geographically makes sense.
And
if you get now, listen to this too. Since 2008, assuming so, obviously this includes Belmont.
By the way, that sounded like a fireworks show, right? When Elijah said that, we all went.
Well, I think because we all had the same thought. Like it's a perfect match if you could grab those two.
So as of right now, with including Belmont, that would be 4 teams in the since 2008 that have won NCAA tournament games. With them, Bradley, Drake, and Loyola Chicago. Add Murray State. That's 5 different teams that not just appeared in the tournament, but have won games in the NCAA tournament. That'd be a pretty big deal.
Loyola went to the Final Four.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Let me ask you guys this, because I know you got. I think I was still producing, but it was a pretty big deal.
Well, actually, Indiana State went to the national championship game, if you remember.
Oh, yeah. Wichita State went to the Final Four.
Yeah.
Larry Bird.
Wichita State's been to multiple Final Fours. You want to go that far back.
Yeah. But they're not in it anymore.
Not anymore.
But do you guys –
But they did it from that league is my point.
Do you guys feel when – and it's our city, but when the OVC tournament left Nashville, that's really when it felt like, okay, well, nobody around here is going to pay attention. I'm being honest. So it goes to Evansville. The tournament
Ironically,
leaves.
It goes to Evansville, right?
And it just I feel like that move really, really hurt them.
There's also never underestimate the importance of the football dynamic here. As much as we watch the basketball more, I think from where we sit, the football finances drive so much. There's something going on there, and I don't pretend to know what's happening there. But it's a tricky thing, especially at that level. What is football? Mm-hmm. And what's the importance of football in that league? And do you have to play football? Do you not have to play football? clearly for Belmont. Clearly for Belmont,
football.
Right. So it's a different formula for Murray State with football than it is for Belmont with no
but
football.
how do you do that's by the way, how do you do that? Because that is a good point. Right now they don't have none of those teams. Well, I guess that's not true, right?
The Missouri Valley has football.
Indiana
they
State,
have North
they
Dakota
have
State.
very good football.
North Dakota State's technically in the Missouri Valley in football, and they win the national title.
Yeah,
in
they have
FCS.
They have great football. I got to do a game a few years ago in that league. It's a tough league.
Yeah, but like you said, Darren, I hate this for the OVC. We've enjoyed the rivalries and having so many teams that are around here in the OVC.
Yep.
With Belmont and Austin Peay and TSU and so that's tough. And Beth DeBusch, their commissioner, has been great to us as well.
Yep.
But
it just doesn't feel like when Scott said Beth DeBusch will go out and they'll get some. I don't know.
I
don't know if
they've lost some heavy hitters.
They've lost,
if they lose
Murray,
but
every league has to do it though. It's like every league has to be prepared. They have to have.
Where's their pool? Where are they?
That's the question.
Pulling? Where are they going to be dipping? I don't know. Where are you getting? Who
are you
pulling over to you?
It's a really good question. I don't know. I wonder if the domino effect goes down to a school like Trevecca or a school like Cumberland. Unique situations. Division II in one case, dominant NIA program in another. Everything evolves. That's the one thing we know.
And it's kind of like they did when they pulled Belmont out of the A-Sun.
Once upon a time, I would have said there is no way that Belmont and Lipscomb are going Division I. They dominate NAIA. Why would they want everyone to leave? They contend for a national title every year. And then here we are 20 years later, and you see where they sit. So everything is always a constant evaluation and what's best for the school, for the athletic program, et cetera.
We will come back. We'll head east. We'll head to Knoxville. We'll talk to our man Vince Ferrara. But first, Willie, you're going to tell everybody about Loan Pronto.
Okay, let me tell you about Loan Pronto. You know that I've been preaching this philosophy that Loan Pronto believes in, and I think it's a great match for you. I've refinanced my home. I shouldn't say my family. We have refinanced our home multiple times. We've been living in the same house for about 20 years now, and it's always a good move. But what we discovered back in the day was, man, it had a lot of paperwork. It took a lot of hassle. Man, it took a long time to get from point A to point B, which is what you're looking for, to lower that mortgage rate. That's the beauty of Loan Pronto, is they have a digital process now that streamlines the process. Most loans get done in 14 days or so. So that is really convenient for you. But at the end of the day, the net result long-term is you're going to lower that mortgage payment. And in the short term, you get to skip the next couple of payments, which is huge for those of us on the budget. Who couldn't use that extra little space to do some things with your budget? And speaking of that, if you need cash right now and you've got some debts you need to pay off with college tuitions or credit cards that have rolled up a little bit, that's an option for you as well with Loan Pronto. You can take some money out of your home's equity and then put it towards that, or reinvest in your home with a home improvement project. All of this is available to you with Loan Pronto. So take a look, because the mortgage rates are really low right now. That's to your advantage. 615-499-5780. 615-499-5780, or go online at loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender. NMLS 1661781. Subject to lender approval. Not all loans eligible for zero-cost option.
Hang out with us every weekday starting at 6 a.m. with Robbie and Rexroad.
I really am. You gotta be. I mean, I just totally am. You've gotta be.
Darren, Daunic, and Chase from 10 to 2.
Good participation.
We have a system now, thank goodness.
I had a funny moment happen.
And Stillman and Company from 2 to 6.
I have a story.
Get a cupcake.
Watch live on Periscope, Twitch, and YouTube. Tune in anytime on the Game Nashville app or your home speaker. This is Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game.
Hi guys, it's Andrew with Hillside Medical Clinic. Are you struggling with erectile dysfunction and sick of pills? Well, I have breaking news. Hillside Medical Clinic uses the most proven form of wave technology available, clinically shown by Cambridge to open up and regrow blood vessels. No pills and no side effects. If you're ready to put a stop to your ED by treating the root cause, call us now, and not only will the assessment and blood flow ultrasound be free, we'll also include something unique that produces powerful results in the bedroom. You're going to love that. And to those that call in the next 2 minutes, you'll qualify for an extra treatment free. This is an unheard of value worth hundreds of dollars. Call 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and get your love life back. Call Hillside Medical Clinic in the next 2 minutes to qualify for this unprecedented offer. 615-576-5000.
Golfers, it's time to tee it up at Edwin Watts Golf Shops for the Callaway Apex Trade-In event running now through October 31st. Bring in any of your old clubs and receive a 50% trade-in bonus towards new Apex 21 irons. The Apex, Apex Pro, and Apex DCB are designed with artificial intelligence for faster ball speeds. Swing by and get custom fit today. Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee.
Listen up, sports bettors. This is Hall of Famer Warren Sapp here to tell you about my favorite sports book, BetUS.com. I only endorse one sports book, and that's BetUS.com. Just like me, BetUS is the Hall of Famer of online betting with more than 25 years in the biz. Call today, and they will get you set up faster than I can run the 40. I play at BetUS, and so should you. BetUS.com.
Use code GAME for a sign-up bonus.
Tell them Sapp sent you.
Hey, Darren McFarland here, and let me tell you about my friends at Curation CBD. If you're like me and have aches and pains all over your body and you've been searching for a solution, well, I've got it. It's Curation CBD. Curation means healing, and that right there says it all. Curation is locally and organically sourced CBD products right here from Middle Tennessee. From seed to final sell, Curation is passionate about providing quality products for everyday use for athletes and for pets, too. Order yours now at CurationCompany.com. Curation CBD, curated for life.
Saturday night.
Vandy, 24-21, your final.
The Vanderbilt Commodores look to get back in the win column when they take on the UConn Huskies on West End. Pre-game at 6. Kickoff at 7:30 on 93.3 Classic Hits and the Classic Hits app.
Hey, Nashville, Trey Wingo here. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Smoky Mountain Rain.
Hey, if you want to win a pair of tickets to see the Predators take on the Sharks from San Jose, not the Sharps from Vegas, Willie, the Sharks from Northern California. They'll be at Bridgestone Arena on Tuesday, October 26th. Head over to YouTube and subscribe to the 102.5 The Game's YouTube page, and you'll be entered for a chance automatically to win tickets to see the Predators and the Sharks. One winner will be chosen, and that'll be on Monday, this upcoming Monday. That's October 4th, yes. Next week will be October. This week will be
Friday will be October.
I know, it's crazy. Already here, and we're already into fall. Let's head east, where I guess the leaves are probably changing color as we speak in the Smoky Mountains. Vince Ferrara, WNML, the sports animal, there in Knoxville. At Vince Sports on Twitter now joins us. Vinny, how you doing?
Hello, Vince.
Great.
Hey, Vince.
Awesome.
Glad you're well.
What else is new?
Hey, Vince, acknowledge us. That's a wrestling reference. He'll get it.
Yeah.
There he is.
Hey, unmute it. Unmute the phone. Repeat everything you just said because nobody heard it.
Well, I said all the positive, good information. I'm done, actually. So I'll see you guys later.
All right. That was your best stuff. That was your best stuff on mute?
Yes. Best for the listeners, that's for sure. No, I was saying, you guys mentioned the leaves, the colors changing. There are some leaves falling here, but haven't quite seen the colors yet. But I think that's maybe a weekend or two away, which is always obviously a beautiful thing. Let's hope we actually get fall weather as opposed to skipping right over it straight to winter like happened some years in Tennessee.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it right now. I think it's like mid-80s all week or low 80s all week. So we're not there yet. We talked about Florida's run game going into the game this past Saturday against Alabama, how effective it was. And, boy, that continued on through the Tennessee game. The Gators are really, really good at running the football, and Tennessee at times didn't have any answers to slow them down.
No, especially not in the second half once those run calls and the dilemma they put you in with either the running back or the quarterback runs, those conflicts that you have to deal with. It was tough, and that's why I said to you guys last week I was more impacted on Florida's side from a positive than Alabama's on the negative from that game in Gainesville 2 weeks ago. And Florida, even though they didn't look quite as dominant a force in the first half, it's a four-quarter game, and they were able to show that they were the best team over those 4 quarters, and Tennessee had no second-half answers. You started to see them miss more tackles and got those Florida backs and even Emory Jones making guys miss in the open field when you got a one-on-one opportunity. But that happens to Alabama defenders as well, and that never happens to them. So, and then Dan Mullen deserves a ton of credit. I mean, Emory Jones had, I want to say, the 10th best passing performance in Florida history, something like that. And he is just playing on a higher level, despite some of those picks earlier in the year. He's playing at a higher level than I think a lot of us thought he would. And you got to credit Mullen because he's a QB witch. He's able to figure things out and utilize guys' best strengths, especially when they're doubted going into the year. So again, like I said after Alabama, Florida, I'm not going to drastically change my opinion on Florida's opponent, on Tennessee. Tennessee's season is going to be made off of these games like what's coming up, not against the Floridas, the Georgias, and Alabama. That's not the bar. And we hear that from fans. Well, if you do this against them, what are you going to do against Florida, Georgia, and Alabama? I'm not judging them off of that. That's not going to determine their season. This stretch they got coming up will determine what kind of season Tennessee has.
I know we're just going into the beginning part of we're going into October at the end of the week, and it won't be until that Halloween weekend, the big outdoor party down in Jacksonville, but just getting a better look at Florida. And I know you probably watched some of Florida, Alabama as well, but I don't think people coming into the season really thought I think everybody felt much stronger about Georgia than Florida, but the way both of them are playing right now, boy, that could be really setting up for a fantastic matchup at the end of October down in Jacksonville.
Well, you see that Florida, one, it has a much more imposing offense that give defenses some issues, and the way Florida's rushing the football is good. I think they have the best rushing attack in terms of yardage in the country right now. Who's better on defense than Georgia? And that's the kind of marquee strength versus strength that you want to see. But another thing is that Florida is better on defense. I don't know that they're great. They are better on defense than they were a year ago. And when you have a really effective offense, kind of like Ole Miss, even though they're not the same, but when you have a standing offense, you just have to be decent on defense and make some stops when you need it. Florida's DC Todd Grantham said this week when talking about Kentucky, who they have coming up, he said, well, they're going to cause us more problems and they're more difficult to prepare for, more so than our opponent last week, talking about Tennessee. And then today that was asked of Tennessee's running backs coach, Jerry Mack, how difficult Tennessee is to prepare for. Yeah, with their tempo, and he was talking about schemes and things like that. But he was trying to, defend it and talk about some things. But Tennessee is the best of later right now.
I think Vince may be in the Smoky Mountains because I think he tricked us.
He's right on the border. You're like, is it going to kick back in?
Is he in a cabin in the Smoky Mountains? Because I know we've been there. It can be spotty.
Yeah.
We can get yes, every fourth word we hear great, loud and clear.
So I'm in a parking garage. I'm getting out of the parking garage, so that might be the issue.
Oh, this sounds better already.
Parking garages
are a problem.
Yeah,
it's
they're
a problem.
no-go.
Okay.
They're no-go.
We're doing better here.
You talked a lot about Emory Jones as I stall as you walk out of the parking garage. Emory Jones's play. What did you think of Hooker's play in the game against Florida?
He was okay. I don't think you could pin that game on him. Obviously, the biggest thing that he improved on was he didn't turn the ball over, which has been something that I thought could get him benched in a hurry if those things continued. You know, he reminds me at times of Josh Dobbs with his elusiveness and how slippery he is when he runs the football. I don't think he is quite as dynamic as Dobbs was. But, you know, I think in certain throws he's able to be efficient. He doesn't have a massive arm. But I think he is good enough to where if Tennessee is doing the other things right to a higher level, like the tempo, like being balanced and running the football, which they were better at in that Florida game, and if they get their offensive line healthy again, I think you can see them be able to win some games with Hooker at quarterback. The problem is he left that game hurt. Heupel said yesterday that he is not in concussion protocol, which would tell you would think that he did not suffer a concussion, but who knows on that. But, you know, he didn't know, Heupel didn't know his availability for this week. That, to me, really raises a concern of whether he's going to be able to play. If he already doesn't know his availability for Saturday, even if for some reason he gets cleared before the end of the week, guess what he's not doing this week? Practicing very much for an SEC opponent. So I think for this week, I would expect, unless we hear something drastically different tomorrow or Thursday, I think it points, at least short-term, back to Joe Milton. He didn't really take advantage of his opportunity late in that game, but Hooker was okay, solid. I guess would be the best way to describe him.
What do you think, Vince? Now that you've seen them both play, we've all watched the games, but you're watching closer. What do you think is the difference between Hooker and Milton? Is there a pretty big separation that Hooker is establishing here, or do you think Milton could still be comparable?
Well, what's a potential interesting dynamic is whether the coaching staff looks at these guys differently. Like going into that Florida game, I thought that the coaching staff, that in hearing Alex Golesh talk about Hendon Hooker, just raved about him and his leadership and ability to process information and consistency and things like that, and then be a little bit tamer in the compliments of Hooker, of Milton. And then, you know, I wonder if maybe Josh Heupel likes or wants it to be Milton, and maybe Alex Golesh might want it to be Hendon Hooker. I don't know that for a fact, but we all know that kind of viewpoint, differing viewpoints on the coaching staff absolutely does happen. Now, it doesn't mean that they're not going to coach up one guy or they're going behind, you know, privately to say, no, I want you to be the guy the coach doesn't want you to. That better not be happening. But I think from a comfort level, they could view it differently. But results are going to override it. And if Joe Milton isn't able to hit those deep shots, they finally did in that game. Hooker completed that 75-yard touchdown pass to Javonte Payton, the Mississippi State transfer. They were 0 for 13 on the season before that throw on passes 30 yards or more down the field. With this offense, they're predicated on the deep shots and the short passes. You can't hit those, you're going to get off the field and put your defense back on the field again, and you're not going to win. So they have to be able to hit those. And if Hooker shows the ability to do it and be more accurate with it, give his receivers a shot, then as long as he isn't a turnover machine, he's ultimately the better choice. But it is still an interesting process. And here's another thing, guys, is so often when we're looking at, especially college players, people want to label guys as a complete, finished, permanent product. And they're not. Especially kids in college. Guys develop at different rates. Look at Theo Jackson, man. Theo Jackson he's their leading tackler, tackle for loss, a bunch of defensive categories. He made a huge jump to this super senior year for him. Guys develop at different places, and they're not always an end result. You see it sometimes it takes till the pros for guys to make that jump. So not everybody is a finished product. Let's see if Heupel, Golich, and these guys, Joey Halsey, the quarterback's coach, if they can rein in Milton to get him with that upside and that arm to improve. But as we've seen right now, Hooker is a safer, more consistent quarterback that sees things and makes more decisive plays at QB than Joe Milton does from what we've seen so far.
I think that's a really interesting dynamic that every team is trying to accomplish, get better every week. And so along those lines, this is the classic, is the glass half full, or is this a sign of things to come? If you look at that game, they had opportunities, Vince, as you know, to stay in the game. But penalties, some key plays at key times, the Callaway drop on the fourth down where it really looks like they're going to be right in there, maybe score and be right in the game going all the way to the end. That would have been a nice thing to do, but as we saw, they kind of collapsed. They hit the wall and they lose 38-14 instead. So which way do you think it can go? Like what does that tell you?
Well, honestly, the penalties are a concern. Josh Heupel has consistently, where he has been a coach, been at 100 or worse in the country in their team's penalty. 2018, 103. 2019, 126 in the country. 118. This year, 119.
Why do you think that is? Can you put your finger on that? What's the thread that goes back to his days at UCF?
It is a concern, and I would say part of it is with the tempo that you're going at, in the frequency of plays. You have more plays, so you're going to have more times where somebody's going to jump offside, or you're going to have some issues. But their problem is the type of penalties they're getting, like having two number ones on the field on a punt return. They both ran off the field, and so they played a punt return with 9 players on the field, and Florida was able to pin them back deep outside.
Is that a record? Is 9 a record? Like, what's the fewest players anybody's ever had on the field in an SEC game for one play?
It's Tennessee, so it's possible that maybe they've set the bar lower than that. But here's the thing. They probably set the bar for the most players on the field back in that.
They had the 13. Yes, I remember that.
Right. You balance it out. You got your 22 on the field, and you're in good shape. But it's or 11 on the field on average. But those are the kind of things that are killing them. And I don't know the kind of penalties they were at UCF, other than the pace of play and more plays. But this team isn't talented enough. They're not deep enough to overcome those things. Here's another factor, Willie, is time of possession. Tennessee is only on the field on offense for 25 minutes a game. That means the opponent's there for 35, 10 more minutes than you on average for every game. So if you have a UCF offense like you have the last 3 years, okay, who cares? You guys are really good. Your level of competition is lower. Big deal. You don't care about time of possession when you're great on offense. This team isn't great on offense. Oh, by the way, they're not great on defense. So now you're putting your defense lacking depth and maybe the level of talent in your conference, and now you're putting them on the field for more plays as well. So it's just a multitude of those things that are popping up. That's one of the bigger drawbacks of this coaching staff. I think to this point, I think they're still doing a good job in scheming up the plays. Like you talked about, the Callaway drop. I mean, that was so well designed by Heupel and that staff. It was a great call for that situation. They weren't able to execute it. and then the buy-in. This team continues to play hard for them. So there are some positives with this coaching staff, but right now it is an incomplete work in progress. And because they're not on a high enough level to make up for it, you see it rear its ugly head and cost them in some games.
I'm talking to Vince Ferrara, 99.1 The Sports Animal. And Vince, looking around the SEC, things really starting to get intriguing. You had Georgia with an absolute shellacking of Vanderbilt. They seem to be looking the part. They will play Arkansas, who beat Texas A&M last week. Arkansas now the 8th-ranked team in the country. If you had that going into the season, then I want to see your lottery ticket because it's going to win. And then Ole Miss, Alabama, Kentucky, and Florida. Of the Florida, Kentucky, Ole Miss, Alabama, Arkansas, Georgia, which game do you think has the best shot of an upset?
I think Ole Miss is going to beat Alabama.
Wow, that was definitive.
I know that. Did I lose you guys?
No.
I was checking to make sure that came through clearly.
Is this like the Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski, if I could spit it out, that commercial? Are you back in the parking garage? We think we heard Ole Miss is going to beat Alabama, but it may have been spotty. I'm not sure with your connection.
No, I think since I'm out of the garage, I think we cleared that up.
Okay.
That's what I said. Look, I still think that Alabama's the best team, and I would pick them to win it all. I think there's a lot of stars aligning in this game for Ole Miss. Obviously, the familiarity of Lane Kiffin. I think Matt Corral is the best quarterback in the country. They're so good at their skill position. They have an offense, too, with Matt Corral's running ability. They, at times, can give Alabama some problems with that dual threat that he brings to the table, like an Emory Jones did in that Florida game. Ole Miss is better defensively. They're not great, but they don't need to be with that offense. But they are more competent. They know what they're doing. They've simplified things, and they are good enough on defense to maybe make some stops. And here's another thing. When Alabama, it's not like Alabama never loses. The few times that they do in the regular season, more often than not, it's at home than away. Check those numbers. That's when Alabama can be beaten from time to time. I think there's a lot. And then Ole Miss is coming off of an open week as well. I still think Alabama is the best team. That doesn't mean that the best overall team at the end is going to win every game. So I think a lot of things fall into place for Ole Miss to pull the upset in Tuscaloosa.
Michael Rappaport told us last week that, yes, the actor-comedian who was in town at Zany's and has Derrick Henry on his fantasy football team, says when he's having a really good fantasy day, he strips down. He takes his clothes off and runs around the house. I suspect if your prediction is right, Lane Kiffin may strip down and run around the field if they beat Alabama.
Don't give him any ideas.
that could happen.
I know what he's going to do. He's going to be even more adamant that Peyton and Eli do the Ole Miss Tennessee game coming up. Because
I want him to.
Yeah, absolutely. And some Tennessee fans have been like, we don't want that. Lane wants that because they're going to gush over them and it's going to help them in recruiting. Sure, it probably won't be as flattering for Tennessee, but it would be so fascinating to hear them talk about what they see in the programs, their reaction to some things that are from a coaching standpoint that are going on, them going back and forth. So I don't care. That would be fascinating. But, yeah, with Lane, everything, social media, in person, all of that, everything is on the table and celebrating. Maybe his own victory, a cigar like you have in the Tennessee-Alabama games. Who knows? But he may be over the top and just in beating Tennessee later this year if that plays out too. But yeah, there'll be a big time celebration for sure. So and look, I thought Arkansas had a great shot to beat A&M. Also, the Bucks losing to the Rams. So sometimes I'm kind of wishy-washy on them. I feel better about this one. Not 100% who is, but I think this is where a lot of the stars will align. We'll see.
Maybe if Peyton and Eli do the game, they could one of their guests, because they have a guest a quarter, maybe one of the guests could be maybe one of the students at the time that burned the couches when Lane said he was leaving. So that'd be a fun guest.
I bet if they do
That's
it,
David
Cutcliffe will be a guest. Well, he might be busy. He could be playing, but they'll figure something out.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, that show is absolute gold. And how about the recruiting bump from, not that Alabama needs a bump, but Peyton Manning saying that, our next guest is coach the entire NFL. And then Saban saying, I want to coach a Manning. Oh, well, there's Arch out there. I mean, it was an absolutely gold recruiting tool for them. Not that they need it or anything.
Well, don't forget little Nicky slipped in there. We've got 73 guys in the NFL. He kind of slipped that in. He worked that in, too, which isn't a bad thing. Of course, wouldn't we all work that in if that were the case? So, Vince, great stuff as always. It's going to be fun to see how this plays out. This is a big game this week. This is a game they could use. I mean, look, when you're looking for wins, this is a game I'm not sure they can do it, but if they can pull out this win, this would be a good building block moving forward. We'll see how it plays out. We'll talk to you next week about it.
Yeah, Missouri, Kentucky, some of these games are going to determine what kind of season they have, so you're absolutely right. All right, thanks, guys. Great to be on with you.
Vince Ferrara from the Sports Animal there in Knoxville, at Vince Sports on Twitter. When we come back, we'll start the third hour with our man, Tim Hasselbeck. We'll get into all things Titans and NFL with him as you listen to Darren, Daunic, and Chase. ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Titans. Jets. It's time to take care of business in the Big Apple. Tune in Sunday at 9:30 for NFL pregame with Jared Stillman, Chris Sanders, and Mark Howard. Live from Corner Pub in Brentwood. We are Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Well, 20 years on the same sideline, and now here they are, Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, meeting this weekend as opponents. It's the GOAT QB versus the GOAT head coach. You can be a part of the epic showdown with unbelievable odds on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Joe Rexford here to let you know that new customers can win $125 on a $5 bet if either team scores a touchdown. That's right, 25-1 odds on any touchdown anytime during the Tampa Bay-New England game. I think there's going to be some touchdowns, maybe more on one side, like the Brady side, than the other, but we'll see. You could also, of course, jump on a same-game parlay with this money line. Hey, I'd go money line Bucks coming off that loss. They're going to be fired up, and I just don't think the Pats are very good. Do whatever you want, though. Offers like this are one of many reasons I love betting the NFL on FanDuel. It's the #1 rated sportsbook app in America. It's very easy to use. It's safe, secure, and the payouts come fast. So sign up for FanDuel Sportsbook today using promo code Joe102 and make your first bet one for the history books. Don't forget, use promo code Joe102 so they know I sent you. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. New users only. $10 first deposit required. Must wager in designated offer market. Max bonus $125. Bonus for Tennessee users fulfilled. Site credit within 72 hours. Tennessee site credit expires 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line. 800-889-9789.
The Nashville Soccer Club enters its second season with another run to the MLS Cup playoffs. Tune into ESPN 94.9 all season long for the action brought to you by Camarena Tequila. The best place to bet on soccer is Twin Spires. Download their app today and place your bets.
There's a reason you hear a lot of recruiting ads on radio. It's because they work. Radio boasts a better than 80% success rate at finding the people you need to help you run your business. To learn more, make plans to attend one of 2 free Chris Daunic radio recruitment and retention seminars. The first one will be held October 5th at Hotel Preston in Nashville, and a second October 6th at the Drury Plaza Hotel in Franklin. Both seminars run from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Learn more at thegamenashville.com/register. That's thegamenashville.com/register. Seating is limited.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Hey, it's Jared Stillman. Guys, are you tired of feeling old? You know that feeling. You don't have any energy. You're gaining pounds. Well, guess what? My friends at Invigorate Health are the ones to help you. They don't just focus on one area of the aging body. They take care of all of it with so many different therapies that can restore your vitality and are designed with you specifically in mind. So give them a try. Invigorate Health, if you want to feel young again. Out in Mount Juliet at 615-288-4777 or invigoratehealthtn.com.
312 Pizza Company is the official sponsor and location of Southeastern Carolines with Caroline Fenton.
The 102.5 The Game text line is driven by Wilson County Hyundai. Online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Be a part of the conversation. Call or text the game at 615-737-1025.
Lately, we've been getting a lot of calls and questions about acoustic wave therapy for the treatment of erectile dysfunction. This is a relatively new treatment for ED, but one we've been using for years. This is Kim for the Tennessee Men's Clinic, and if you're looking at acoustic wave therapy or any option to help your ED, it's worth a visit to check us out. Our wave therapy protocols use acoustic wave technology, but often also combine it with other treatments that can give most of our patients far higher satisfaction rates. There is no surgery nor any type of invasive procedures required, and while most clinics you hear about only offer sound wave treatments, with our urologist and provider's guidance, you can likely have sex the day after your appointment and experience fewer letdowns. With another one of our ED treatments, you can last up to an hour and a half, and our expertise in treating these issues means you'll get the results you want. So make your appointment today. We'll show you why our acoustic wave program is the better way to do wave therapy. Call us today at 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Visit our website to learn more, including side effects, treatments extra. Results vary.
Nashville's best sports talk, locally owned, home of our Nashville Predators. WPRT-FM Pegram, 97.5 Murfreesboro, WBUZ HD2 Laverne, online at thegamenashville.com. We are
ESPN
102.5 The Game. Live from the Game Nashville studios, it's time for Darren, Daunic, and Chase. With hosts Darren McFarland, Willie Daunic, and Chase McCabe. On Nashville's best sports talk,
ESPN
102.5 The Game.
I'm bringing hassle back.
The mother boys don't know how to act.
Get your sexy on.
Always. Third hour, Darren, Daunic, and Chase on this. Yes, it's gorgeous Tuesday afternoon. Hope everybody's having a good day. Our man Tim Hasselbeck is on the line with us. Tim, Broncos or Raiders, who do you believe in more moving forward, and why?
Raiders, quarterback's more talented.
Don't believe in Chase's buddy, huh?
No, I mean, I think
Haven't we been through this?
Yeah, we've been through this. We've been down this road. And look, they've got a really good supporting cast, and I'm a big fan of Pat Shurmur, and I think there's a lot that they. I think that's a good match. So he may play great, may have a career year, but if I was like, okay, like which one of them's for real? Because with the way this has started for the Chiefs, like maybe that division's open, and if that's the case, like who would you want to get behind? I would go with the Raiders.
Do you think either one of them legitimately has a chance to make it into the playoffs, or they'll eventually come back to earth and just be on the outside looking in?
Yeah. I think the Raiders have a legitimate chance. I do think also, I think we maybe had this conversation last week, but, so here we are. We're 3 weeks into the season, which with a 17-game season and bye weeks, it's an 18-week season, which means there's 15 more, which means it's almost 4 months left. Like, when we look back at weeks 1, 2, and 3 at the end of the season, it's going to feel like it was years ago. And so there's just so much that can change. I mean, between injuries or, guys that go on the IR and are able to come back. And I just think more than ever, it is, it's kind of a war of attrition, if you will. And I think the fact that they've gotten off to a good start certainly, helps give you a little bit of a buffer for when things go bad. But man, we just have so much football left in front of us that I think it's so early to tell. I mean, think about this. Last year the Steelers, what they win, 11 games in a row?
11-0, yep.
And since that point, they just have not really been great. So, I just think we all have to be a little cautious of that because things can change quickly in the NFL, and all of a sudden the teams that were the hottest teams all of a sudden look terrible.
Did you No, I guess we all knew the Rams and the Bucs were going to be really good, but like you just said, with all that being said, long ways to go. But do you think after watching that on Sunday, now granted it was in L.A., maybe it's a different story if it's in Tampa, but if you watch the game, the Rams were pretty much in control that entire game. I mean, Tampa countered after the first Rams touchdown, and after that, it was all L.A. Tampa was playing catch-up the rest of the day. Do you believe now, through 3 weeks, the Rams are clearly the best team in the NFC, or no?
I don't know that they're clearly the best because I think Tampa is good enough to beat them. But I think that when you look at the top-tier teams and just say that those are two of the top-tier teams in the NFC, then I think that I think Tampa can beat them that way. I think the Rams, obviously they did it, can beat Tampa that way. And it's why I feel like, the addition of Matthew Stafford, I think there were some people who were like, I don't know. But, that's a big deal. That's a really, really big deal. Because I think he's that good of a player, and I think you're seeing it.
What about Justin Tucker in Detroit? It's the Lions, right? Is that the most Lions thing ever? And I know they got ripped. They got gypped on a missed call. Should have been a delay game to push them back. But isn't that so Detroit Lions to lose that way? I hate to even say that.
Very Detroit, yeah. It's very Detroit to lose that way. To be honest, I thought the Chargers – it was very, L.A. Chargers, I think, to potentially lose the way it looked like they were going to lose to Kansas City this past weekend. And so, that was hard that would be hard to swallow. I mean, just look at Dan Campbell's reaction afterwards. It was like, oh, my gosh. To think that, I mean, I've seen balls hit the crossbar. And I guess maybe I've seen them go in, maybe if they kind of hit the back side of the crossbar or something like that. But I don't know that I've ever seen one hit the crossbar that hard, bounce that high, and still go in. I mean, everything about that was so crazy. And then John Harbaugh is walking off the field. I was just reading his mouth. He's like, I think he set the record. He set the record with that. He was surprised by it.
And how about the finish Sunday night? You just know there's just certain quarterbacks. Mahomes, Rodgers certainly is in that category. You just can't leave them, too much time. In fact, Peyton and Eli were talking about it last night with Philadelphia. Okay, you got to march down at the end of this half, but don't leave too much time for Dak. You're going to need to milk the clock, right? And San Francisco scored too early, and 37 seconds wasn't enough because Aaron Rodgers marched them right down. I mean, how do you let Davante Adams, of all people, catch two balls like that on that drive?
Yeah. So here's what I would say. And I'm on with Scott Van Pelt, after the Sunday night game. So we're watching the game together. He kind of jokes. He's like, they leave him too much time, and we kind of were laughing. But it's like, no, I mean, 37 seconds and no timeouts. You did your job, perfect. And so, if you were to write a book, 37 seconds and no timeouts, that should do it. There should be, you did your job as an offense. And listen, I think you can still, to kind of the point I think you were alluding to there, Darren. I think you can kind of say that they did because you do need to, at a minimum, listen, here, with 37 seconds left, rush two and double, just have somebody trailing Davante Adams. Have a special, a special defense for a special player. So there, I do think there are elements of, San Francisco defensively could have played it a lot better. But, yeah, that's just wild. And Aaron knew it, too. When he spiked the ball after the second completion to Adams, the fist pump, he knew. He's like, I just did my job. Mason Crosby's about to come out here and win this thing. And that was wild.
Talking to Tim Hasselbeck, talking NFL, as we always do. Tim, what is your interpretation of the dynamic of the Julio Jones thing? And you try to put yourself in a coach's shoes, and I know we don't have all the information, but you knew based on the drama, the headlines of bringing in a big name like Julio Jones, that regardless of how you handled it after the game and the day after, you can't keep it from being a topic. So how do you evaluate what happened there?
What part are you referring to?
Him sitting out the fourth quarter, basically not being reported on an injury. Like the press box usually gets a report. If a player is hurt, he's got a questionable return. So he didn't have his helmet, then he had his helmet, but basically in the fourth quarter with the score 14-13 and then 22-16, he sits out drives completely, and the Titans go on and score both times and put the game away without him being in there. And so, of course, questions are asked.
But you're talking about, like, how you manage it. Like, Vrabel's obviously made comments about, like, he's good with, where Julio is.
So use the word maintenance. So the key words to me, he used the words after the game, maintenance, right? He didn't say he was out with an injury. He didn't say, I kept him out. But he sort of hemmed and hawed. I'm thinking long term. We got to look at the guys in there were doing the job. And then yesterday, he heaped a lot of praise on Julio Jones, but also said there was some tightness in there. As guys get tight, is what he said. So he's really choosing his words very, very carefully to try to avoid getting more attention to this than what he needs. But the bottom line is everybody's wondering why didn't he go in there in such a big game with in the situation they were in.
Yeah, I mean, I just, part of it for me is, and I think this is kind of the stuff I was talking to you guys about, honestly, before the trade ever happened, and it was like, oh, hey, are the Titans a fit? Are the Titans a fit? And, maintenance, tightness, like, I think you're focusing on all the right stuff. And, I think what I would say is, if we go back to prior to the trade ever happening, if you were to talk about these things, I would tell you it's kind of the cost of doing business. Like, that's what it is. Like this is the cost of doing business. And when you want to sign a number one wide receiver, guy, throughout his career, who practices when he wants to practice, plays when he wants to play, produces when he wants to produce, like, that's just the cost of doing business. And because Vrabel was a player and he saw guys get treated differently, and that's where you earn your money as a coach, because you've got to figure out the right way to do it, the right way to handle it publicly, the right way to handle it internally, the right way to make your team understand what's going on. But I think that's just that's the animal that you're dealing with.
And at the same time, they've come up with a couple of really big wins after the nightmare in the first game, and they've done it by doing what's gotten them to this point, and that's leaning heavily on Derrick Henry. And the double-edged sword, of course, is it looks like he's still the same guy he's been the last couple of years, maybe even adding a dimension of him as a pass catcher. But at the same time, with this, you just talked about, you got that extra week now. It's a longer season, and you want to go deep into the playoffs. He theoretically could have about 500 touches at the pace he's going right now. And as great as physical specimen and
that, just like I was saying, I mean, we essentially have 4 months of football left. You want Derrick Henry, playing his best football after that, in 4 months and change. That's when you want him playing his very best football. And, by the way, everybody else, every other team has just spent, 17 games, trying to tackle, and they're banged up, and this safety's nursing a shoulder, and this, linebacker had an elbow injury, and that, you want that. So, yeah, Willie, I think you're on the money with it. There's this element of, look, obviously last week is a big game, and it certainly puts, the Colts, kind of behind schedule on what they were trying to do. But, at the same, in the same breath, you have to say, all right, well, like we need Derrick Henry to be playing like this and feel this fresh and feel this healthy as much as possible at the end of the season, because that's really what makes the Titans unique right now.
What are you seeing with the Colts? Because here they are at 0-3. They don't have any gimmies the next couple of weeks for sure, and it really looked like Carson Wentz was very, very limited in what he could do offensively. Can they dig out of this hole?
Yeah, again, there's a lot of time, but with that, saying that, they've got, their best offensive lineman's hurt. Their quarterback clearly isn't healthy. You're right. That was obvious this past weekend. And now you're 0-3. And, you just lost, a head-to-head with the team that you probably are going to have to, be in front of to win the division. So, like, can they? Yes. It's so long. Like, I think that's the thing that, I always try to, even remind myself, like when, we're talking about teams and their seasons, and we joked, hey, loser of that game, this past weekend is out of the playoffs, right? Like we're going to make that declaration, at the end of September, like they're done. But it is just so long. The season's so long. Now that, like saying all of that, they're a quarterback that I don't see how he's getting more healthy. Their best offensive lineman is injured. Seeing the way the Titans ran the football on them, was certainly probably very discouraging to them. So, yeah, look, I think there's a really good, scenario that things get ugly quickly for Indianapolis.
Talking to Tim Hasselbeck, ESPN NFL analyst, joins us every week. So Sunday night football, the return, as they are billing it, as Brady returns to Foxborough to take on the Patriots for the first time since leaving for the Bucs. How I look at this, Tim, is I don't think Brady has one thing to prove, but I think he's going to try and prove something anyway, just because that's how he's wired. What are you expecting out of that one?
Yeah, I think Tampa beats them easily. I think Brady plays great, and when you look at the Patriots, like they just don't have, I don't believe, good perimeter players around Mac Jones. I think it's going to be tough sledding for him. And I would agree with you. Like, I don't think Brady has anything to prove. He proved it all last year, but I think he will. Coming off the loss that they just had, and then the game that's going to get a lot of attention, I think he plays great in it.
Is Dallas better than you thought initially, or are they right where you think they should be?
No, they're better than I thought, because I didn't think their defense would play as well as they've played. Remember, they were epically bad on defense last year. And Mike McCarthy fires his defensive coordinator after one season. Like, they were horrible. Yeah. So, their improvement has definitely grabbed my attention on that side of the ball. And they've done it with guys being hurt, which is another thing that's been impressive. So, I knew they'd be good on offense. They have good players. Mike McCarthy knows a lot of offense. And Dak, I thought that he would come back and play really well. The part that's been shocking to me is how much better their defense has been. A year ago, we were questioning, players' effort. So, that's definitely not been the case.
Time to panic yet in Seattle, sitting at 1-2, or just a result of a tough schedule and they're going to get it turned around?
I don't think it's time to panic yet. You know who should panic, Chase?
Who's that?
Darren.
I've been waiting for this.
You know why?
Why is that?
Why?
Tell us.
Why would that? Why would that be?
Because of the total beatdown he received from your fantasy team this weekend. That's who should panic.
I agree.
It
was not a good week for him.
Darren all of a sudden got his peanut butter and jelly, stuck in his mouth. I think right now he doesn't response. But
I'm muted. I'm muted.
I mean, that's who should panic. Coming in thinking you got all the answers, right? And then all of a sudden, here come Willie and Chase, and just run through you.
Well,
that's who should be concerned.
I had the second high. The only team I beat everybody in the league but them.
Yeah,
so,
it's got to hurt. It's got to hurt when you do
it
that.
stings. It's not like I had 60 points and they had 160.
Wait, you had more points against teams you weren't playing? Oh, congrats.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Exactly.
Really,
I know.
That's
just
really
bad
good.
luck, isn't it? It's bad luck.
Willie and I have a
No,
good
listen,
squad.
you just play. You play you play like in big games, like when it matters the most. You know, you got to step up. Like
we circled the dates on our
possible for you to
calendar.
win? Like, would you have been able to like rearrange your roster a little bit to actually come up with the win, or no? Just was a total beatdown.
No, I mean they had the high for the year so far. So Willie and Chase had a monster
for the
week.
year.
So yeah.
I mean, Herbert gave us 30.5.
Well, actually, Stafford is my quarterback, and he outdid Herbert.
You're right.
So,
but we had
wasn't
Connor and
We
Jefferson.
just had answers. We had answers.
Mike
everywhere.
Williams had a big day.
Mike freaking Williams, yeah. Mike freaking Williams.
You know what I mean? Well, listen, everyone knew Mike Williams was going to go off. The fact that you didn't have some type of response to that, Darren, is irresponsible management.
Guess who? My response, Allen Robinson. Yeah, that seems like a good pick, right? 2 catches, 27 yards.
Yeah. See, I mean, listen, there are some people like Brady this weekend, when it's a big game, you know, a big game like that. Like he's going to rise to the occasion.
Yeah.
You know, a little bit like Aaron going back to the Bay Area Sunday night, you know, like that. And like clearly Willie and Chase, like they know how to rise to the occasion. I mean, you know, it's like you went Allen Robinson. I mean, there you go.
Yeah. You know, if the Bears could just get over 100 yards on offense, Tim, I feel better about Allen Robinson. But they got a ways to go.
I mean, and you chose them.
By the way, I did. By the way, real quick, I know you got to go, but it's just come out that Marlon Mack wants a trade out of Indy. Is he worth a look, or what is Marlon Mack today?
Yeah, I think he's a really good player. You know, he's just in a bad spot because Naheem Hines is a really good back who you know is different, change of pace, and then you know they drafted Jonathan Taylor and. You know, they're going to go that direction. You know, Marlon Mack's big issue's been injured some, but when he's been healthy, I think he's a really, really good runner. And, you know, so like, you know, I know that, like, take the Rams as the example. You know, they added Sony Michel after the Cam Akers injury, but, you know, Marlon Mack would be a player, like, in a system like that I think could end up having a great year. Now, I don't think he ends up there because of Sony Michel, but I think that, you know, just to use an example, yeah, I mean, he's a good runner.
Maybe the Ravens, with all their injuries, maybe they go after him.
Yeah,
Who knows?
potentially. Mm-hmm.
Hey, good stuff as always. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you
good
next
luck
week.
next week to your fantasy
thanks.
team, okay? Good luck.
I know you
next
mean
week,
that.
In your league.
Thank you. It means a lot, Tim. Thank you.
Bye, Tim.
See you, Mel.
He is something, isn't he?
He's the best.
That's what I love about him.
I'm just really glad he's taking an interest in our fantasy league.
Yeah, well, you know, you guys probably sent him a heads
No,
up text.
come on.
We would never do that.
I know.
Why would you think that
know.
we would ever do anything like that? That we would ever reach out to Tim Hasselback, who's brought to you by Red Spirits and Wine in Bellevue, and say, "Hey, ask Darren about his fantasy weekend." I would never do a thing like that.
I so wanted just to keep my mic off. But, you know.
Yeah, we had our hand up to our ear.
He got you on the peanut butter, though. That was funny.
All right, we got a lot more to get to on the other side. Good stuff from him, as always. I want to talk to you about my friends over at Cool Springs MD. You know, you've heard me talk about them for years because I've been going there for years, and they've really been helping me for years, which is why this is easy to talk about them. They've helped me be healthier and happier. They've helped improve my quality of life. And as we all age, sometimes that's tough. But they do so many things under one roof, and they've got a very experienced staff over there that can help you in a variety of things. And, of course, their leader is Dr. Jeffrey Lodge, the board-certified physician, his wife Daphne, the registered nurse. But it's a great facility over there in Cool Springs at 1642 Westgate Circle. And I would say, as we've all been adults for more than 5 minutes, you've probably tacked on some unwanted pounds that you would like to shed. Well, weight loss management is important to them, and they've got programs and products and people that can get you back in the right direction ASAP and get rid of those unwanted pounds. Rejuvenation. Your appearance should be important, and it's tougher as we age. Things start happening that maybe we didn't have happen before, and they can discuss PRP, hair removal, Botox, and finally hormone therapy. Maybe you've been feeling a little bit off lately, haven't felt yourself, you haven't had that same drive, that same energy, or maybe you're experiencing some mood swings. Well, they'll be more than happy to discuss BHRT, testosterone, estrogen. They do it all. If you would like to learn everything about them, just go to their website, CoolSpringsMD.com, or you can always pick up the phone and schedule an appointment or a consultation by dialing this number, 615-283-7291. That's 283-7291.
Hang out with us every weekday starting at 6 a.m. with Robbie and Rexroad.
Limping off the field. I can confirm he was limping off the field.
Darren, Daunic, and Chase from 10 to 2.
Wouldn't say it deserves a gold star.
We want people to play along.
This is what's crazy.
And Stillman and Company from 2 to 6.
I want to go last. Can I go last? Sure.
Watch live on Periscope, Twitch, and YouTube. Tune in anytime on the Game Nashville app or your home speaker. This is Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game.
Fiero Tequila Habanero is for those who enjoy the flavor of spice, naturally infused with fresh, vine-ripened peppers from farmers in the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico. Fiero Tequila Habanero is unapologetically the spiciest infused tequila available in the U.S. The hand-picked habaneros provide a delicious kick to the smooth Blanco tequila. It's a flavor punch that's perfect as a shot or a spicy way to spice up your hard seltzer, or perfect for a fiery cocktail. Available at fine liquor stores and your favorite drinking establishments. Fiero Tequila, the world belongs to the brave.
It's soccer season in Tennessee. You want goals?
He takes it inside, outside, right foot, great finish! What a goal!
You want saves?
Lifted high, into the hands of Joe Willis. He makes the catch.
You want big drama?
Put in, it headed in! Delirium! It's Yonder Cadiz!
Nashville SC are back at home Wednesday, September 29th versus Orlando City SC. The action kicks off at 7:30 p.m. Tickets on sale now at NashvilleSC.com.
How'd you like that?
Parman Tractor and Equipment is your one-stop tractor and equipment solution and Middle Tennessee's Link Belt and Takeuchi dealer. No matter how you're getting there, start with Parman Tractor and Equipment. Rent or purchase a track loader, mini excavator, large excavators for your job site, or something in between. Their service and parts team will get your work site up and running in no time. Parman Tractor and Equipment will come to you for service if needed. Visit ParmanTractor.com for more info. Your Middle Tennessee Link Belt and Takeuchi dealer, providing totally outrageous customer service.
Hey, mortgage rates have taken a nosedive, back to the lowest in history. Don't miss your chance to lock in a lower house payment with Loan Pronto now. Hey, it's Willie Daunic. Call Loan Pronto today and take advantage of their super popular zero-cost refi program. You can get a rate with an APR in the low twos with no junk fees and no closing costs. Yes, they pay your closing costs. Who else does this? Loan Pronto's all-digital process is fast and easy. Virtually no paperwork required, and most loans get closed in 14 days. And if you act now, you can even skip your next 2 house payments. Think about that little bonus. Call Loan Pronto now and start the process before rates spike again. Get your forever loan today. 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. If your current mortgage rate starts with a 3, you need to act now. 615-499-5780, loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender. NMLS 1661781. Subject to lender approval. Not all loans eligible for zero-cost option.
Wednesday night, the Nashville Sounds begin their final series of the season when they visit the Indianapolis Indians. First pitch at 6:05 on ESPN, 102.5 The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
Hey Nashville, this is Eli Gold, voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Hey, don't forget to support Stars. That'll be Saturday, October 16th. You can run, you can walk, you can boogie. It's the Nashville Striders' 21st annual Shelby Bottoms Boogie 15K and 5K run/walk at Shelby Bottoms Park. This event is perfect for the avid runner as well as the casual jogger. Or you can, look, bottom line is you can just show up also and just support and participate virtually. For more information, visit starsnashville.org. It's a really good cause, and hopefully you'll get involved. Remember, that is Saturday, October 16th. Back here on Darren, Daunic, and Chase. Of course, our show every day is presented by Creation CBD. Creation CBD products curated for life. Good discussion there with Tim Hasselback. What did you guys make? Anything jump out at you at what he said? I'll just start there. Very generic. Very wide open.
I mean, Dallas, I think everybody's kind of feeling that way about them right now, that maybe they're better than people thought just because of the defense especially. I mean, I knew that Dak was going to come back and be Dak again, or hoped he would be, but I knew he had that determination. I think one surprise has been Zeke. You've seen more out of Ezekiel Elliott, especially last night. Last night was a big game for him. Can he keep that up? And they have, the two-headed monster with Tony Pollard, who has been really good. So if they keep that going, plus Cooper and CeeDee Lamb, they have the type of offense that I hope the Titans would have and will be able to have, and that is, it could be a different guy every night, but that you got a ton of weapons that can hurt you.
It really jumps out if you can just make a jump, if you can maintain your strong side of the ball, and what he said about the Cowboys, I think you can say about the Titans on some level, is that if you have the pieces to have a great offense and you can maintain that, and you can just make a jump on defense. It doesn't have to be a great defense. If you just go from bad to okay, that really makes a difference, I think, on your outlook. That's what I think we're hoping for the Titans is have they made a jump? I don't think we're looking at it and going, hey, this is a great defense. But I think you could see that maybe they've made a jump. We got to keep seeing this week in and week out to see if it's true, and they have to stay healthy. But they do appear to have a much better formula for success. They're getting a decent amount of pressure on the quarterback now. They have a different look in the secondary, which isn't world beaters, but it's better than it was last year. Let's hope that trend continues because, man, they got so used to having a pretty good team last year with a bad defense. And that I think the Cowboys are a good example.
Yeah.
Awful defense, had a really good offense, and they might have been the Titans last year had Dak Prescott not gotten hurt. It would have been that every week.
Can
you outgun
the Titans of the NFC?
Yeah,
they would have won.
Can you outgun teams? Yeah.
Yep.
They probably would have won that division.
Well, look at their games with Dak before he got hurt. That's exactly what was going on.
And they were winning some and they were losing some, but they were going to score enough to be in every game, and then they lost their quarterback.
He was out on pace for a career year. I mean, he was lighting it up, Dak Prescott. So how about the Marlon Mack stuff? Should there be any interest here in Marlon Mack?
You know what? That's a really good question.
Let's take a couple of teams that might make a phone call. But
he's asking about here, and I think that's
here?
interesting.
Yes,
yeah,
here.
I think that's interesting.
Why? Why would you say no?
I wouldn't give up anybody for Marlon Mack.
What?
Why not? What do you got behind Henry?
What do you have?
I think Jeremy McNichols is doing a really nice job. He's a perfect role player, and I think you still have yet to see what Darrington Evans is. I think you got to find out before you.
I'm not waiting around on Darrington Evans.
But what?
We've been
why
talking
do you
in a
need?
window now.
We had
They're
this
in a
discussion
window
with
now.
Leonard Fournette last year. Why do you need a backup?
Here's why.
You're not spending money. You're not spending. We're going to give up a draft pick for him?
Coming from you, what do you need in a backup to give to? You're the one who's been screaming for years about Derrick Henry's workload.
Yes, but they have.
No, they don't. No, they don't. They don't have anybody. That Darrington Evans is supposed to be that guy. He's in the tub every week.
Look, I'd love to have.
On the field.
I would love to have Earl Campbell and Walter Payton and Emmitt Smith as my backups. There's something called the salary cap, and there's something called draft picks. Are you going to trade a draft pick to get Marlon Mack?
What do you
It's
honestly
not gonna
think
take
they're giving
that
up?
much.
Right, it's going to be like a sixth or it's going to be like a seventh round pick.
Yes, I'm not willing to give that up for him.
Okay.
Oh, because
if he
round
gets
picks, come on.
If he gets cut, then yeah, I'd pick him up. But what's his salary?
Here's why
I don't know.
I don't think it's a lot.
Can't be much.
Here's why I would consider this. I want to see a situation where you can have yet another element of surprise in the offense. If you had Mack and Henry on the field at the same time, that you're using Derrick Henry more as a pass catcher. I think that only helps that. Plus, I think Marlon Mack can be solid. You can spell Henry some. I mean, you're the one that's always concerned about, is he getting too many carries, the curse of 370.
I am 100%. I will always be like, I'm assuming that Marlon Mack is going to be an investment. Number one, you don't have a lot of cap space to work with to start with. Number two, you're going to have to give up something to get him. I just think that's too big for the role he's going to play. How do you know it's going to be a 7th-round draft pick?
Because that's what he's going to.
$2 million.
He's not going to command much. There's not going to be this.
He's on a 1-year, $2 million,
6th or 7th round pick, probably a 7th round pick. I mean, that's it. That's what you're going to give up. 7th round pick.
Actually, it's going to be cheaper than that. He's on a 1-year, $1 million. He had a $1 million signing bonus, which I'm going to assume the Colts have already paid, and so the cap hit is $2 million. I don't know how that shakes out with
prorated
and stuff like that.
That's
it's cheap. He's 25 years old.
He rushed for over 1,000 yards, and by the way, was 92 yards from 2,000-yard seasons, 2 1,000-yard seasons. I mean, I'm just saying.
Does he play special teams?
I don't know.
Well, that's a big question. There was some quotes that just came out in the last 15 minutes on Josh Reynolds, and that was a big part of it from Rob Moore, that in the role that you're playing,
give him Josh Reynolds.
You've got to
say Josh Reynolds for Marlon Mack, straight up. Let's go.
I'm just saying that right now, I'm not sure you address Marlon Mack. He's basically an insurance policy for Derrick Henry, and that if you're doing that, okay. But I wouldn't give up a draft pick for that. I think you can go find some serviceable backups
that have had 1,000-yard rushing season. Almost twice.
Okay, but history is full of guys who come in and have 1,000-yard season here and there. The Broncos used to churn them out one year after another, the no-names that could go out and run the ball pretty well. I don't think there's a priority there to go get him. Now, if you're the Ravens or somebody that is really low on tailbacks, then I think you could go out and go get a guy like that.
All right, free agent running backs.
If he's not playing special teams, then I don't see a fit.
It's very clear that he has fallen out of favor in Indy. There's no doubt about that. Now, I don't know. He had the injury last year. I don't know if he's basically out the entire year. So I don't know what he is today. I know that in 2019 and 2018, he was really good. Like, he was getting drafted in our fantasy football leagues, and you were starting him.
Yeah.
Like that 2019 season, Marlon Mack was an every week starter on your fantasy football team.
But what happened? He had a major injury that set him back. So is he the same guy?
That's what I'm saying. I don't know what he is today, and it's very clear that Indy is there's no longer a marriage. They're going their separate ways. And I'm just asking the question.
Okay, you're asking the question. We don't know the answer, but you're willing to give up a draft pick to go get a guy that had a great year a couple years ago?
Draft pick?
I would give up a 7th.
Yeah.
I would give up a 7th.
I would
do it.
Nope, not me.
I mean, because you're saying if
you're not going to use them.
If you scour that, well, you don't know that.
Well,
what do you mean I don't know that?
Of course you
How
are.
much do they use the backup running back?
I'm not trading for a guy I'm not using. So, of course,
I think they're going to use him.
They wouldn't use him.
They would use
if
if Darrington Evans could stay healthy, they would have packages for him.
He's the 3rd string running back on the Colts. You think the Colts they're just not using him because he's really good, but they're not using him?
Something's going on.
So tell me what's going on.
I don't know what's going on.
Okay, you don't know, but he's going to come here and you're going to use him, throw him in there and take Derrick Henry out and McNichols, who's been a nice role player?
Yeah, I would create packages for him.
That makes no sense. Why? You have a great
because it's another weapon.
You don't need another
AJ
weapon.
That's hurt. You got Julio. Who the hell knows what's going on?
I have zero interest in this at all. But why is Indy not playing him? Answer that question.
I don't know. Call Frank Reich.
Maybe because he's not as good as he was a couple years ago, and he's the 3rd string guy. That team needs some help. They're 0-3. They're not using him.
Give him Josh Reynolds. The Titans aren't using him.
Well, this
I think they would use Marlon Mack more than they're using Josh
think
Reynolds.
about what you're saying. You want to trade a guy who you signed in the offseason, and you have an injury to one of your top wide receivers. There's a need for Josh Reynolds now. There's no need for Marlon Mack, but you want to ship Josh Reynolds at a position where you don't need help right now. You have a nice mix at running back. You also have Darrington Evans that I'd still like to see more of. You'd be blocking him.
When are you going to do that?
When he gets healthy.
When is that going to
It could be any time. It's a long season.
Stub his toe,
you
walk
heard
into the
Tim
locker room.
Hasselbeck. This is a 4-month season. You got a long way to go.
Look, if
and
you're
right
depending
now
on
you have an
Darrington
immediate
Evans,
you have an immediate need at wide receiver right now for Josh Reynolds.
You can
this
come
is
up
his
with
chance.
all kinds of things, but sitting here saying waiting around for Darrington Evans is just not one of them.
Okay.
I mean, if you want to make the case of Marlon Mack's lost it, he's never going to be returned to 2019 form, that's fine. Or he's still injured, that's fine. But sitting here acting like, wait, hey, you got Darrington Evans. Like, Darrington Evans has done nothing. He literally is a ghost. He is. If you're sitting around waiting on Darrington Evans, good luck to you.
Okay.
If you want to make the case Marlon Mack isn't good anymore, then that's fine. I'll be like, okay, maybe that's true. I don't know. We're not there. We don't follow him every day. But sitting here saying, hey, my reason is you've got Darrington Evans. Give me a break. Darrington Evans is a ghost.
Darrington Evans is on my roster.
He
already.
now lives
He's
at
free.
Elijah's old
He's
house.
free.
He's a ghost.
I got to go get Marlon Mack and give something up for him. That's a big difference. I don't need Marlon Mack right now. If Derrick Henry were hurt, then yeah, I'm on the phone. I'm saying, hey, I need to find some solutions here. But that's not the case today. So I'm passing.
What if you could just have him?
What?
What if you could just have him? What if they just cut him?
If they cut him, then I would consider it. Yeah, I'd bring him in for a tryout.
Then you're going to go out there against everybody else.
Sure.
Trade guarantees that you get him.
Right. It's called need. There's no need at running back right now. None.
Ryan says they need the 7th-round pick for a third-string quarterback.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just say Cortland Finnegan was a 7th-round pick. Chris Jackson.
Floyd Reese.
Chris Jackson is a 7th-round pick that's playing right now and playing pretty well. 7th-round picks, let's not scoff and say the 7th-round pick never does anything. Am I wrong? Was Chris Jackson not a 7th-round pick?
I'm not saying that they don't do anything, but I'm saying that it's a low risk
for a backup that may never play. Where are you going to play Marlon Mack? We've been talking about Derrick Henry catches passes now.
But again, you're the one that always says the curse of 370. You got to watch it. I mean, this is a perfect way to do that because they're not doing that with McNichols. McNichols is in there on pass protection, and he caught a touchdown pass. But I think Marlon Mack, he's a guy that has gone over 1,000 yards almost twice in his career
before he tore his Achilles.
I understand, but I would still take the low risk and go for it for a 7th rounder.
I don't see the point. I don't see the point. I'd much rather have Josh Reynolds.
We agree to disagree.
Yeah. I think that the phone will ring on teams like maybe the Ravens. Maybe I think we could find some other teams that could use another back that would actually in a committee maybe consider using Marlon Mack if he's got something left.
Okay. I mean, the Ravens, I certainly think the Ravens are a possibility.
I go back to the question that neither of you have even tried to answer. Why are they not playing him? If he's a good back and you're the Colts, why is he not playing at all?
Indy could be sitting there on a sports talk show right now saying, why aren't they playing Josh Reynolds? Why is he a healthy scratch? Like, are they good at wide receiver? Why don't they play him?
But this week, week 3, will be the first week that they go into the game without A.J. Brown. So let's see what week 4. So this will be the first week that they go into the game without A.J. Brown. They have Josh Reynolds in their stable. Let's see what they do with Josh Reynolds.
I mean, are you 100% sure that even though I hear what you're saying, like they need Josh Reynolds. They need Josh Reynolds to be a factor.
They have a need at wide receiver. They do not have a need at running back.
But I believe that they're going to be more inclined to promote somebody like Mason Kinsey from the practice squad that will play special teams and has really shown out in camp and actually done something in camp, unlike Josh Reynolds. They would be more inclined to play him over Josh Reynolds. That's what I think.
Maybe we'll see. And then
the head coach yesterday.
That still doesn't mean you trade a draft pick to get Marlon Mack. It's still the end of the day. Right now there's no need for a running back that I see.
We agree to disagree. We're going to go round and round on this, but
you guys still are avoiding my question. Why aren't the Colts playing Marlon Mack?
I don't know. I'm not avoiding your question.
Well,
I'm telling you, I don't know.
Do some research and then get back to me.
My guess is that the indie media is getting the same answers that we're getting here when asked about Josh Reynolds. He was inactive.
That's not answering my question.
Well, you can ask us why Josh Reynolds isn't playing, and we live here, cover the team, and we don't have the answer. So you think you want us to have the answer about Indianapolis?
We do know the answer. A, he hasn't been healthy, and B,
no,
he doesn't play special
teams.
teams.
That is not true. Mike Vrabel said he was inactive. That was his answer.
No, in training camp, he
was inactive.
Yes,
that was his answer.
In training camp, did he practice? No,
he doesn't play special teams. Not that he's dealing with an injury. He was not inactive. That was his answer.
In training camp, he was injured.
Is that an answer? Is that an answer to your question? Why is Josh Reynolds inactive?
Darren, you still haven't answered the Marlon Mack part of it. I'm answering the Josh Reynolds part of it. He missed a ton of practices because he was injured in training camp. He's gotten healthy, but he doesn't play special teams, so he hasn't gotten the nod since the regular season started. So now, let's see what happens because there is a need, because A.J. Brown is hurt, that we'll see if they use Josh Reynolds. They may not. They may like these guys better, and that's totally fine. If you can build from within and you have that depth on your roster, more power to you. I'm asking you guys a completely different question.
He doesn't play special teams? Do you think they brought him in to play special teams?
You guys brought up Marlon Mack. I'm asking you guys a question about Marlon Mack. You guys want to answer about Josh Reynolds. I'm asking you, why aren't the Colts playing Marlon Mack if he's a good back in the NFL? I'm just asking a question.
Mike Vrabel, could you give us more on Josh Reynolds?
He was inactive.
He was.
Thank you. I'll tell you what.
Marlon Mack has been active, by the way, and they're still not playing him.
Yeah, I'm going to send the 7th-round pick that they used on Cole McDonald. That's what I'm sending to Indianapolis for Marlon Mack.
Okay, good.
Re-sign Cole McDonald. Send them Cole McDonald.
Because you know what that 7th-round pick did? That was something that was flushed down the toilet in about 2 weeks.
Yep.
He was inactive.
I keep asking you about Marlon Mack, and now we're on Cole McDonald. So how many ways can you dance around my question with something else? Let's bring up Luke Falk, and let's bring up all the other.
We're getting there.
Let's bring up Isaiah Wilson. Let's go back to the draft.
That was a first-round pick.
I'm asking about Marlon Mack, and you guys don't have the answer.
By the way, Darrington Evans was a 3rd-round pick. Well, you should include him too because he's a ghost. He's turning on TVs. He's not a ghost. At Elijah's
He's
old
on the
house.
roster. He's on the roster.
Yes, he is. Barely. He's living in Elijah's old house, turning on TVs, playing video games.
Which explains a lot.
Yeah, that's why Elijah moved. So, I mean, you know the answer. We don't know. We're not there.
Okay.
Just like we don't even know why Josh Reynolds is not playing. Other than what, inactive. Coach? Yeah, he was inactive. He was inactive.
He was inactive.
And he was even asked, was it health? Was it a healthy scratch?
And
no,
he said,
but
he said
he was inactive.
He was inactive.
Rob Moore today, that was yesterday. Rob Moore clarified he does not play special teams, and so this week is different because you don't have A.J. Brown taking up a roster spot. Let's see if Josh Reynolds is active this week. If he's inactive again, then I think it's time to say, do we really need this guy on the roster, or are we better off without him?
And then you want to trade him for Marlon Mack?
No, I wouldn't trade him at all.
Inactive.
All right, well, in fact, let's hear from Rob Moore on the other side to close out hour number 3. That's next.
Titans. Jets. It's time to take care of business in the Big Apple. Tune in Sunday at 9:30 for NFL pregame with Jared Stillman, Chris Sanders, and Mark Howard. Live from Corner Pub in Brentwood. We are Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. More sunshine in store for us today. Temperatures will work their way from the 70s to the middle 80s when it's all said and done this afternoon. Storms back the second half of this week.
Are you a father that is passionate about your fundamental constitutional right to parent your own child or children? Has your parenting time or your income been affected by COVID? This is Amanda J. Gentry, and I am a fierce defender of your constitutional rights. The courts in Tennessee are under an obligation to maximize equal parenting time. We do not live in an every other weekend world anymore. At the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry, fathers are extremely important, much like my own father was. Go to AmandaJGentry.com or call or text 615-604-6263. That's AmandaJGentry.com.
Lift it, load it, grade it, grind it, move it, haul it, rig it, dig it, crane works, rental works, yeah. The big dogs got it.
Craneworks is ready to help lift Nashville. As the Southeast's most trusted name in crane and equipment rental for over 30 years, Craneworks offers certified operators to make sure the job is done right. RentalWorks has a diverse fleet of equipment to assist in any project, big or small. From forklifts to carry deck cranes, they have it all. When it's time for your next lift, machinery moving, or rigging project, call Craneworks. Visit craneworks.com.
The Titans head up to the Big Apple this weekend to take on the New York Jets Sunday at noon. Join us for a fun pregame show and watch party at the Corner Pub's Brentwood location at Old Hickory Boulevard. 102.5's NFL pregame show will be there live starting at 9:30 a.m. And the show features Jared Stillman, former Titans receiver Chris Sanders, and Mark Howard. 102.5's NFL pregame show is brought to you in part by E2 Roofing, Social Furniture, TriStar Moving, and Screwball Whiskey.
Listen up, sports bettors. This is Hall of Famer Warren Sapp here to tell you about my favorite sports book, BetUS.com. I only endorse one sports book, and that's BetUS.com. Just like me, BetUS is the Hall of Famer of online betting with more than 25 years in the biz. You need a sports book with integrity and longevity, and you need to know when you win, you're gonna get paid. You need a sportsbook that offers all the action to make every game feel like the playoffs. Call today at 1-800-69-BET-US. That's 1-800-MY-BET-US, and they will get you set up faster than I can run the 40. Nobody in the industry gives bigger bonuses than BetUS. I play at BetUS, and so should you. Now is your turn. Join now. Call today at 1-800-69-BET-US. That's 1-800-MY-BET-US. My favorite sports book, BetUS.com.
Up to 200% sign-up bonus. Support the station and use code GAME.
Tell them Sapp sent you.
Robbie Stanley.
Maybe it doesn't hurt their bottom line this year. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen on that front.
Joe Rexrode.
5 guys who are on the roster are not going to be on the roster.
Get your morning started with Robbie and Rexrode every weekday from 6 to 10. Presented by Volunteer State Bank on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app. If you've missed any of today's show, just search Darren, Daunic, and Chase on Apple, Spotify, or on your favorite podcast platform.
Some of the position coaches for the Titans speaking to the media today. The issues with A.J. Brown's injury, Julio Jones's status, some of the other role players who have come up and done a nice job to get the team back to 2-1. Here's what he had to say earlier this morning.
What's up, Coach Rob? Hey, what's going on? All right. That rotation that you had mentioned, is that something that, like, do you give the guys the liberty to tap out, like, you know, after they run a couple deep routes, do they have that liberty to turn you, hey, look, sub me out, or is that something that is primarily monitored by you?
That's primarily monitored by me. You know, a lot of times I try to do a good job of, seeing a guy run a deep route, and instead of having him come all the way back to the huddle and interrupt, the pace of play for us, I'll have somebody ready to go. I probably need to do a better job in regards to that, because there are times where sometimes I miss the boat on that. But I try to do a really good job of paying attention to those type of details so that we're efficient in and out of the huddle, and guys can be fresh going into the fourth quarter.
And then with Julio, when he first got here, the big thing was how he was going to impact some of the other receivers, the younger guys, et cetera. Now that you've gotten, 3 weeks in, how has that continued to happen? Is that something that you're still seeing during practice and in the wide receiver room?
Yeah, without question. I think Julio does an excellent job of preparing in terms of studying. He come in and ask me questions and say, "I seen this on tape. What do you think about this move or that move?" So he has a really good route imagination in terms of what he's seeing on tape. And he also, communicates well in the meetings. He and Ryan, I think, have a good rapport that's continuing to blossom. But I mean, he's been a true consummate pro, man, and I tip my hat to him for coming in and taking the approach that he took from day one.
Thank you.
Cole.
Sorry, Rob, I missed the very beginning, but you were talking about managing loads. I'm just, how much is it about managing loads in game as opposed to managing loads during the week? And if it is about games, how much has that changed from your playing career to now?
Oh, it's a lot different now, man. I mean, now you got the GPSs that monitor how many miles and yards you've run and all of those things, and we didn't have access to any of those things. It's just a different game. The science behind it has changed the game, and for the better. But I think it's a compilation of both in regards to how you manage guys during the week and in games. We understand that this is now a 18-week season, so all those things are factored in. So. We try to do a great job of really understanding where the player's at. I think Ty Tetraselli does a great job as well. And Graves kind of passes that information on us from day to day and lets us know how he wants us to manage those guys. So I think the communication is good in regards to all of us being on the same page with that.
If Marcus is to reemerge for you now, how much can he help add it to the mix?
That's yet to be determined. I think that's one of those deals that we'll kind of see where he's at when he gets back this week, and I think we'll take it from there.
That's Rob Moore talking about the receivers. Certainly, there was more to that. That's a guy that I was glad they made available today, because that's a guy that has been watching this up close. And I think if you listen to the questions, there was some engagement trying to educate about the process, that it's not like it was when Rob Moore was playing. And I watched Rob Moore play a lot. He was a good wide receiver in this league, for people that don't know. But now there is a lot more of let's make sure the science is right. Let's make sure guys are in the top condition. Maybe it's better to have other guys in the game. I don't know that's going to satisfy a lot of people in terms of they still think that Julio Jones should be out there every play, and it still doesn't answer the question of why did he miss the entire quarter. It's one thing to go in and out of games. Right. He was going in and out of games before in the first couple weeks.
Yeah, but
before that.
But at the most important time.
That's what everybody's still kind of wondering going forward here. But it does give you a little lens into how they see the positions, and then the special teams part of it as well.
Well,
for some of the secondary guys.
And it was interesting that Marcus Johnson's name was brought up. He's currently on IR, but he's eligible to return.
What does that do to Josh Reynolds? That's another question.
I don't think it changes anything for Josh Reynolds. I think Josh Reynolds continues to be inactive. But if Johnson's available, that could be interesting.
We put a lot of time in on watching all the wide receivers in the preseason. It's interesting how the plot has thickened there. Okay, we got to take a break. When we come back, Clark Lee will join us. Vanderbilt coming off a tough loss, got blown away by Georgia. They've got UConn this week, a very important game for them as they continue to try to build the foundation there. Mitch Light joins us afterwards for some college football talk. So stay tuned. We've got a big 1 o'clock hour coming here on Darren, Daunic, and Chase.
The voice of reason.
All of those question marks that we needed to see on the field, all of those things that we were worried could possibly happen, happened.
The voice of the fan.
And so now you got a situation now, man, that is very volatile, and it might get out of hand.
The voice of Nashville sports is your home of Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Hey, how's it going?
Great.
This game's gonna be good.
Definitely.
Loser buys?
Sure.
Hey, 2 Dos Equis on this guy.
The game hasn't even started.
And yet, somehow it's already over.
Okay.
A dose of certainty. Brought to you by Dos Equis, proud sponsor of college football. Get a dose. Enjoy Dos Equis responsibly. Copyright 2021. Imported by Cervezas Mexicanas, White Plains, New York.
Hey, Darren McFarland here, and let me tell you about my friends at Curacion CBD. If you're like me and have aches and pains all over your body, and you've been searching for a solution, well, I've got it. It's Curacion CBD. Curacion means healing, and that right there says it all. Curacion is locally and organically sourced CBD products right here from Middle Tennessee. From seed to final sell, Karacion is passionate about providing quality products for everyday use for athletes and for pets, too. Order yours now at KaracionCompany.com. Karacion CBD, curated for life.
The Parker Store at 1909 Nolensville Road in Nashville is the Parker Factory Authorized Store for your Parker hydraulic, pneumatic, water, and chemical hose needs. They stock metric tubing and hose connections to 42 millimeters in size, and they'll fabricate while you wait up to 6,000 PSI hydraulic hoses in a 2-inch size. Call the Parker Store at 615-248-8245 for all the Parker requirements you have. The Parker Store, 1909 Nolensville Road.
Hey, Robbie Stanley here, and after 20 years on the same sideline, Tom Brady and Bill Belichick meet this weekend as opponents. It's the GOAT quarterback versus the GOAT head coach, and you can be a part of the epic showdown with unbelievable odds on FanDuel Sportsbook. Right now, new customers can win $125 on a $5 bet if either team scores a touchdown. That's right, 25-1 odds on any touchdown anytime during the Tampa and New England game. Give me Tampa Bay. I think they're going to score a few touchdowns in this game. Tom Brady's going to be motivated, but you take it any way you want to take it. Offers like this are just one of the many reasons I love betting the NFL on FanDuel. It's the #1 rated sportsbook app in America. It's easy to use, and they get you your money quickly in as little as 24 hours. So sign up for FanDuel Sportsbook today using promo code ROB and make your first bet one for the history books. Don't forget to use promo code ROB so they know that I sent you. Must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. New users only. A $10 first deposit required. Must wager in designated offer market. Max bonus of $125. Bonus for Tennessee users fulfilled in site credit within 72 hours. Tennessee site credit expires 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Got a gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
Contest rules for 102.5 The Game and ESPN 94.9, including on-air, online, and text-based contests, are available by visiting the contest rules page at theGameNashville.com. Good luck, and thanks for listening to 102.5 The Game and ESPN 94.9.
Nashville's best sports talk, locally owned, home of our Nashville Predators. WPRT-FM Pegram, 97.5 Murfreesboro, WBUZ HD2 Laverne, online at thegamenashville.com. We are
ESPN
102.5 The Game. Live from the Game Nashville studios, it's time for Darren, Daunic, and Chase. With hosts Darren McFarland, Willie Daunic, and Chase McCabe. On Nashville's best sports talk,
ESPN
102.5 The Game.
Fourth and final hour here on this gorgeous Tuesday afternoon. Hope everybody's had a good day thus far. Darren McFarland, Willie Daunic, Chase McCabe with you. This time every Tuesday we head over to West End, checking the Vanderbilt campus with their head football coach, Clark Lee. He is on the line with us. Coach, good afternoon. Thanks for doing this as always. How you doing?
Doing well. How are you guys doing?
Doing fantastic. I think if anybody's ever played sports, whether it's football or anything, you've always had that humbling moment, that game that didn't go your way and got out of hand, and it's always how do you react after that? And as a coach, I'm just curious, what do you say to your kids after a game like that? Just, to keep this thing moving. You knew what we've talked about it every week with you, but, I know you have a game like that. What do you say to them?
Well, I mean, the first thing is, everyone's emotional and everyone's frustrated, and that includes me. So the first thing is, you try to push that back and just in the moment have an attachment to the vision and the journey you're on, and essentially, you speak to the room and you make sure you speak to the hearts and minds that want to be. Both learn from the experience but move on from it too. How quickly can we put that game behind us to focus on, being our best for the next opponent? And, you have to relive it. We do that on Mondays here. Sunday's an off day, and you relive it. You have honest conversations around it. I think each time we're out there, and as painful as Saturday was, it's an indicator of where we are, and it's an expression of the things that we need to work on to improve upon, some big, some little, some tactical and some mindset driven. But every time you're exposed that way, you target those things, you communicate them honestly, and then again, it becomes how quickly can we move on and find another level of performance.
When we had a game like that in baseball with our youth sports team, a game that just was was one-sided after that talk, and that's why I was curious how you would answer that. I was thinking, what was I going to say to them? So we have the talk, and then seeing their reaction, that felt good. I was like, I do walking away. I was like, okay, we're going to be all right. They're going to be just fine. Did you? I know it's just Tuesday. It's Tuesday afternoon, but have you felt good? And Sunday was a day off, but have you felt good of how they have responded and reacted since the game?
Well, first of all, these guys are tough. They're tough. They're here to win. They're here to be competitive. Some of them had experienced something like that in their past. Some of them hadn't. Mm-hmm. I will find out a lot today when we actually get out on the practice field and go back to work. Am I dealing with a team that's licking its wounds, or am I dealing with a team that's on the rebound? And that'll be pretty easy to connect with. All of these moments, like here early on in this building of this program, I mean, these are opportunities to separate the real from the fake, and it's like you get shocked that way on Saturday, and you take a step back and you say, okay, you set your jaw and you jump right back into the fire. And program wide, the people that are jumping back in with you, are there for the same reasons that you are, and we're not going to let one result define us. I mean, listen, that was embarrassing and frustrating, and one that I'll never forget. And yet I know, and I'm anxious to look back on that as a memory from a perch of success that I know is going to happen. And so, for me, it becomes how quickly can I get over myself, get over how I feel, and continue the climb here and continue to build, because we'll close the talent gap through recruiting and developing our team, and we got to close the mindset gap too, the psychology of being a great competitor and knowing that you go out, you expose yourself fully, you understand that there are going to be good results and bad results, but that you have pride in the way you represent yourself on a competitive level. And those are things that we'll continue to teach around and build upon, but we have to have, as coaches and as a team, the discipline to make choices in the moment to be the team that we know we're capable of being.
Coach Clark Lee is on the line with us, Vanderbilt football. And so, Coach, as the second half is going, it happens so fast that you're in a big hole. But I'm sure you're watching to see, how each individual handles it, who stands out and still battling, and still trying to make good things happen and stabilize the game. So what did you see in that department? Anybody stand out to you?
I think in review of the film, I saw, and I shared this with the team, I think in a losing effort, and as we're building a winning program, when you don't have results, it's easy to find individuals that stand out. I think when you do have results, it's going to be about unit performance and team performance and complementary football, and those are the things you're going to highlight. There's a collective effort that's missing right now that we have to establish. But certainly there were guys that on a competitive level stood out, that they were winning their one-on-ones. They were fighting and winning their one-on-ones and making a difference. Tyler Steen was the guy that stood out to me that played with edge. I thought, Castillo and Cox inside were both O linemen that were able to win and had a tough challenge that they responded to. I thought Arrington Truesdell, a freshman, was a guy on coverage units, both kickoff coverage and kickoff return, that stood out. Defensively, Jalen Mahoney continues to be a guy that brings spirit and energy. Was very happy for him. I thought we got better play out of the safeties. I think there's still room for us to improve there and to continue to push. Michael Owusu probably played his best football since I've been here. I thought the two inside linebackers were warriors and fought through the finish. And that's not to say these were great games. I thought these were individuals that made the decision to compete over and over and over again. And you see the build. I mean, Rasan Wilkins and Nate Clifton are two guys inside, along with Davian Davis, that have been pretty consistent in their effort all year. And for us, it's just, again, you now 4 games in, have a better understanding of where the heartbeat is on your team. What are the psychological ailments that are holding us back, but who are the guys that are rising above that and are helping to form what the identity will be of this program. And for me, it's about, speaking to those guys every day and allowing them to set the course for us so that we can have, a stronger middle to this season. And we will, and again, we're anxious to get back on the field today and go back to work. I think on the whole, to this point, the response has been pretty good, but like I said, a lot to be determined today.
Clark, you, of course, having played in the program, can understand this. Of course, you grew up in Nashville, so you've seen this type of game come up sometimes. Your guys are hungry for a win. There's an opponent that you match up with, needless to say, much, much better with than the team that you just played. But at the same time, you've got a very hungry program in UConn probably saying, hey, we've got a chance to get a win. We need a win here. So tell me what's the mental part that's got to be right all week long to make sure your guys are ready to go and playing at your best on Saturday?
Well, I think one of the things that is holding us back is this idea that our preparation and process is determined by who we're playing. I think it's like we have to look at this like any other week where what is going to lead to like a great result on Saturday? Well, the intensity and attention to detail and energy that we have today on that practice field is going to go a long way in dictating, how we perform on Saturday. Saturdays are always kind of a measure of two things: their talent and their performance. And the sooner we connect with, a performance level, a consistency in performance that allows us to be at our best, right? And whatever our best is, how we measure up against each opponent is what it is. But if we play at our best, you have opportunities to win games. Right now, we're so inconsistent with that performance that, we go to Colorado State and we fight through adversity and we come out victorious, and we feel great about it. You turn around and you play Stanford and, you have every opportunity to win that game by seizing momentum heading into the half, and we give it right away. And until we perform at a consistent level, we're not going to know what we're truly capable of here. And so, look, if we're playing Georgia again this weekend, if we're playing East Tennessee State, the lessons we've learned to this point is the opponent doesn't matter. When are we willing to step up and play Vanderbilt football? How is this team going to look today coming out to start prep on the practice field for UConn? And are we focused on playing at the highest level and representing Vanderbilt football from an attitude and an effort standpoint, like that we know that we can? So those are kind of the challenges we have. And I think as this program matures, again, it'll be less about who we're playing and more about how we play. Because in the end, like you said, UConn is coming in here to steal a game on the road. And, we have to, just like we learned against East Tennessee State and certainly against Stanford, that our opponents aren't going to cooperate with us. We have to go and take the game. And to do that on Saturday requires our attention here early in the week.
Coach, I as I watch the quarterbacks you're using, Mike Wright and Ken Seals, they both do different things really well. They have different skill sets. And this is a crazy outside-the-box question. But, looking at how the Saints use a Taysom Hill, there's been some examples through the years. Is there any way that you can incorporate both of them at the same time at all, especially with the unique skill set that Mike Wright has?
There is, and that's something we're working through. I think there's so much on an identity level that we're building on offense that we want to make sure that we are attentive to that. But and yet, coming out of Saturday, one of the things that we have to work on is our creativity and creating explosive plays. And so playing both those guys on the field at once certainly would help go a long way in that.
Talking to Clark Lee, Vanderbilt football coach, joining us here on Darren, Daunic, and Chase. So through all of this, you talk about your players and what you're learning about them and expecting out of them, how they react to wins and losses. through all of this as a head coach, what have you learned about yourself and maybe some things that you didn't know how you would react to some of the things you've gone through?
Well, I think just that, I'm a work in progress too. And for me, it's like, each time I'm out there, each time I, enter the arena with the team, and I'm efforting the performance that I want from the guys. I have to take time to learn and grow as well. And so for me, I think the challenges that I knew were here, I've dealt with really well. I think the challenges that are revealing themselves as we go, I'm learning and adapting to as well. And the biggest thing for me is to enjoy the process of building a program. And that means, the high moments at Colorado State, celebrate them. The low moments like this weekend, learn from them and flush it, and, keep building this team and keep building this program towards the vision, and love the players along the way. And, we're going to get there. It was a frustrating setback, but nothing that we can't overcome together.
One non-Vanderbilt question for you, because you spent so many years at Notre Dame. Brian Kelly passed Newt Rockne for the all-time coaching wins at Notre Dame, which is quite an accomplishment. And you think about, all the years that he's been there, all the winning that you all did together. I mean, what did that mean to see him? Obviously, you're focused on your own thing, but to see him be able to do that and have that honor.
Well, I mean, look, I sent him a message on Saturday, and just a message of congratulations and how proud I am of him, and the time I spent with him. I think he's an underappreciated coach who's built a program that has really become a force in college football, and he's done it the right way, and he's done it through the weight room and done it through developing players. And I'm proud of Coach. I think what an unbelievable accomplishment for him, and something that I celebrate from here in Nashville. And I know, as I work my way through the adversity that I'm sitting with now, I draw from guys like BK and Dave Clawson and great head coaches that I've worked with that have been in these types of situations where, they can offer great advice and wisdom on staying the course and, keeping it tethered to the vision and all that kind of stuff. And so, I'm excited for Coach Kelly. I think it's what an unbelievable honor, and again, one of the more underappreciated head coaches in college football in my mind. He's done an unbelievable job there, and obviously there are more wins to come for that program.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, go get him this weekend. Appreciate the time as always, and we will do it again next week.
Hey, you guys take care, and appreciate you, and talk to you soon.
Absolutely. That is Clark Lee, the head coach at Vanderbilt, joining us every Tuesday at 1 o'clock. When we come back, we will stick with the college football theme and talk to Mitch Light from The Athletic. We'll do that when we come back. Darren, Daunic, and Chase, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Screen to Henry. Henry with blockers in front. Derrick Henry knocking over Darius Leonard.
King Henry and the Titans sit atop the division heading into a Week 4 meeting with the Jets.
Win every day, not just every game, win every day.
And we've got you covered all week long.
We've got to win offensive line, defensive line. That's where the strength of our team is.
This is Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Robbie Stanley.
Sometimes the overthinking that takes place, pretty mind-boggling.
Joe Rexrode.
Thought there was an issue. There's not an issue. There's no issue. They're doing wonderful.
Wake up and hang out with Robbie and Rexrode every weekday morning from 6 to 10.
Taking care of business this early in the morning.
On Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
I do not want to deprive people of a close-up of my face.
Watch live on YouTube, Twitch, and Periscope.
Creating the finest award-winning tequila means starting with the best ingredients. Camarena Tequila is 250 years in the making from Arandas, Jalisco, Mexico. You see, at Camarena, they wait for their 100% blue Weber agave to reach maturity before harvesting each and every plant by hand. This allows them to consistently produce one of the smoothest and best-tasting tequilas in the world. Experience Camarena Tequila today, available at a fine liquor store near you. Camarena Tequila is the official tequila tequila for the Nashville Soccer Club.
It's all about getting them something that they're not going to be able to get anywhere else at the best prices with the best warranty.
Meet Genesis Diamonds owner Boaz Ramon.
At Genesis Diamond, we never ever lost a sale due to price, quality, selection, or customer service.
What's the Genesis secret? It starts with offering hand-picked GIA certified diamonds.
I'm very proud to say our GIA hand-selected diamonds are one of the largest diamond inventory anywhere in the country.
And then there are the rings. Thousands and thousands of handcrafted unique rings from all the top designers. So at Genesis, you don't have to settle for a knockoff or generic ring. You can get her the ring of her dreams and still stay in budget.
Because of our great buying power of the diamond and also great buying power for the designers, the package deal for the consumer is a win-win situation.
Genesis Diamonds.
I love what I do.
Green Hills and Cool Springs.
My accent is always on value.
Football is here, Titans fans. With 5 locations in Middle Tennessee, it's easy to find the perfect corner pub to meet up with friends and family to cheer on your favorite team. Head downtown to watch your Titans play on the 50-foot LED screen, or brunch it up this Sunday in Brentwood, where 102.5 The Game will be live on location with Jared and friends. Stop into any location for game day food and drink specials. Corner Pub, your local family-friendly sports bar, located in Brentwood, downtown Nashville, Bellevue, Cool Springs, and Franklin. The neighborhood meets at the corner.
Willie Daunic here for Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. Fall is here, and that means the cold winds of winter are coming. It's a great time to replace those old, drafty windows. Pella is the leader in the industry for top-quality window and door products. But Pella Windows and Doors are also affordable, extremely affordable. Pella has payment plans less than $95 a month to replace your windows. So, I suggest you purchase your windows and doors from the experts at Pella of Nashville. Go to PellaofNashville.com.
Hey, this is Jared, the owner of MTGRT.com. If your mortgage rate is not in the twos, then you need to call me now. We are locking in clients in the twos with no closing costs. That's right, you heard it right. Locking in clients in the twos with no closing costs. Text me on my personal cell at 615-969-2257 or fill out a few pieces of information on our website, MTGRT.com. MTGRT.com is the proud sponsor of Paul Feinbaum, heard on 102.5 The Game and ESPN 94.9.
Wednesday night.
Scores! Nashville equalizes!
Nashville SC is back home at Nissan Stadium, looking for another 3 points against Orlando City FC. Coverage begins at 7:15
on ESPN
94.9 and the Game Nashville app.
Hey Nashville, this is Paul Feinbaum, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Blinded by the light, wrapped up like a
Don't forget to play silly underdog picks with us. We make our picks on Thursdays at noon. You get to pick 3 games. Remember, 3 underdog teams to win. They have to win their game outright to get the points. We've got weekly prizes. All you have to do is go to GameNashville.com for more details to play. Silly Underdog Picks presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket. We gave Forever Titan Chris Sanders a lot of grief. I was front and center of that line about taking UConn last week. They were getting 30.5, and we took him out behind the radio woodshed and let him have it on air, and they lost by 2.
They had a 2-point conversion to tie and didn't get it after losing the lead. They had the lead for most of the game.
Yeah. It would have. I don't know what we would have done if they would have won that game. And it was, first of all, that would have been silly underdog history, right? No one's ever won a 30.5 point spread game. I don't know what we.
I think we've had upper 20s, but I don't think we've ever had anything over 30.
You think upper 20s? I know.
Yeah, there was a win. This was in the 1990s. Somebody had I think Rob Fessmeyer had an Ole Miss team against Georgia or something like that. It was like 29.5 or something like that.
Really?
So that's what sticks out of my mind.
I thought Chris hit one with Vandy a few years ago.
It was in the 20s.
Against Missouri.
It was in the 20s.
It was 21.
Yeah.
It was 21. Vanderbilt against Missouri. But ironically, I bring that up because Connecticut is the next opponent, and Vanderbilt will be hosting them on Saturday. We bring in Mitch Light from The Athletic. Mitch, how you doing?
I'm good. Darren, hope you're well.
Yeah, everything is good. Let's start with the game that was down in Jerry's world in Dallas. Arkansas and A&M. A lot of people, this was not a great surprise. I think this was kind of like a sexy upset pick, and it played out. Arkansas looks really good. They're a top 10 team. One, just talk about what you see in them right now, and two, how about the coordinators they have on the offense and defensive side of the ball that are looking really, really good right now for Sam Pittman?
Yeah, that is something I was going to go to. And, Sam Pittman, a lot has been made of the hire there, and kind of no one saw it coming, and obviously how he did a great job last year and all that, and the fact that he did not have experience even as a coordinator, how important it was going to be for him to make good hires, and he definitely did. And again, this is nothing to take away from Pittman because he has those guys believing and all that, but I don't think enough has been made about, Kendall Briles is, comes with a little bit of baggage from his time at Baylor with his dad and all that, but he is a, very, very highly respected coordinator. And then Barry Odom, we kind of dismiss him a little bit because his Missouri tenure didn't go great, but he was a great defensive coordinator under Gary Pinkel at Missouri. Great job at Memphis, and going to Arkansas has been great there. And the thing about this staff, they inherited a team that was probably one of the worst Power 5 programs at the time as far as losing streak, but it wasn't without talent, and we all know that to be the case at Arkansas. They don't recruit clearly like the top teams in the league, but they recruit consistently at a top 25 level. So I think it was like a perfect storm of Sam Pittman coming in, his message resonating, hiring a really good staff, taking over a roster that was far more talented than the results on the field, and then they experienced some immediate success. Now, they lost the opener last year to Georgia, but it was clear that they were a different team. So then it's sort of like when you enjoy success right away, players start believing even more, and then more so even this year. And the fact that, KJ Jefferson, I think, has been better. I know they had high hopes for him internally, but I think he's been better than anyone thought he would be at the quarterback position. Hopefully he's healthy after getting banged up. But they were really good, and that was, you can look, A&M has athletes all over the place too. They're not great at the quarterback position right now, but there was nothing fluky about that game. I watched probably 2/3 of it flipping around and stuff, but I'm not. If they play 10 times, does Arkansas win 8, 7? I don't know, but they were clearly the better team on Saturday.
They'll get a break, though. They'll get the week off, though, after that big win. Oh, wait a minute. No, they've got to go to Athens and take on Georgia. Then they get to go to Oxford and take on Ole Miss.
Then they go to Ole Miss. Look, Arkansas goes to Ole Miss after that.
Right.
Then Auburn.
Right.
And then Arkansas, Pine Bluff, Mississippi State, then at LSU, at Alabama. We always talk about life in the SEC West is brutal enough. And then when one of your crossover teams is Georgia, which is one of the most talented rosters we've seen in college football in the last 20 years. I don't know if they'll be one of the 20 best teams, but as far as roster talent, they're up there with anybody.
We just had Clark Lee on, and at the end of that interview, Chase brought up Notre Dame and their big win. And by the way, shame on us. None of us took Notre Dame in silly underdogs. What were they getting, 6.5?
6.5, yeah.
None of us took Notre Dame, and they cruised to a 41-13 victory over Wisconsin. But you think about Brian Kelly's body of work. I don't know if underrated's the right word, Mitch, but people seem to want to, I don't know. They don't heap a ton of praise towards Brian Kelly. I feel like we all doubt Notre Dame a lot, right? Like, they're really not that good. Like, we do a lot of that over the years. But I'll tell you what, since he's been their head coach, there's one thing you can't knock Brian Kelly. His teams are consistent, man. They are consistently good, and they may not win the big ones all the time, and we know their playoff woes. But why do you think that is? And, oh, by the way, they've got another big one this week as they host Cincinnati.
Yeah, well, you're preaching to the choir on Brian Kelly. I've been a fan of his. I remember dating back to his Central Michigan days, and that program was terrible. He got them good immediately, enjoyed immediate success at Cincinnati, and then has been pretty good at Notre Dame, like you mentioned. A couple things. He, early in his tenure, he was more of a hothead. Pictures of him on the sideline with his face about the, veins popping out, red, vessels bursting and all that. So I think people like to poke fun at that. And, it's just Notre Dame. They're a People love him. People love to hate him. And, he did have that. They went 4-8 one year, kind of reinvented himself, and has been, ever since then, they've been very consistent. And, there's said many times in the last few years, sure, they lost in the playoffs badly, but a lot of teams in that position would have lost the teams they played badly. Just because they got blown out by Clemson and Alabama in the playoffs doesn't mean they didn't deserve it. You plug any team in there, those teams would have lost those games too, probably. So, Notre Dame's kind of found its little sweet spot there. Playoff expansion goes to 12 when we think it will in a few years. I expect them to be a consistent playoff team. I don't know how much longer Brian Kelly is going to coach. He's not that young. He's not that old either. But, I agree with you that I think nationally people kind of, I don't say dismiss, but just don't maybe appreciate how good of a career he's had.
Yeah. NC State, double-digit underdog at home in Raleigh. They beat Clemson in double overtime. Clemson's 2-2, and they obviously have not looked great. Their offense, it looks just pathetic. It's just weird seeing Clemson like this. Is this just a really, really slow start, and all of a sudden they're going to turn into gangbusters the rest of the way, or is this what Clemson is, and they're like a 7-5 team?
Yeah, I don't know if they're 7-5, but this is what they are. They're just not a good offensive team right now. One thing about them, their offensive line has not been great in recent years. So you take away Travis Etienne and Trevor Lawrence, and the offensive line hasn't gotten any better, and they're not as dynamic at wide receivers as they've been. That explains the offense. Will Shipley's a 5-star freshman running back they brought in from North Carolina. High hopes for him. He broke into the starting lineup, but he might be great down the line, but he's not having the effect that some people thought he would have. Clearly, he's not Travis Etienne. And this one thing about Clemson's rise is they always had the superstar quarterback, whether it was Deshaun Watson for a few years, Trevor Lawrence. Just think when they did not have it. The 1 year it was Kelly Bryant. They were still good. They made the playoff, but their offense wasn't very good. And then this year, so they've recruited well, but they have not recruited quite at the level of Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama. So their overall roster talent isn't as good as those super elite teams that when they're not getting good quarterback play that they're just going to be, you just plug them in. So again, I think 7-5 is a little bit of overreaction, but this is not a playoff team. Clearly, it's not a good offensive team.
This is going to be a big one in Lexington this Saturday.
The question or the game?
No, just the game. The game. I don't think it's going to be.
I thought the question was going to be a big one. Okay.
Well, no, I just want to get your thoughts on. It's going to be an electric atmosphere. Kentucky's hosting Florida. Florida looks better than I think we initially thought, and here's Mark Stoops in Kentucky flying under the radar again. We're so used to, it's Kentucky football. Basketball season's just around the corner. Well, they're 4-0. Can they actually pull this upset off, or does Florida get them?
I'll disagree with you on one thing, Darren. I think Kentucky's not really flying under the radar. I think nationally, a lot of people, even there's some people out there that picked them maybe to finish second in the East, to battle Florida for second in the East. The one thing, and
I picked them in second.
There you go. You're well aware of this rivalry. For years and years, Kentucky would come painfully close and then literally forget to cover wide receivers like for Florida, and Florida would just beat them in the weirdest ways possible. Now, they finally kicked that door down and won. Now, that was in Gainesville. It wasn't a home game. But so not that should affect this game or this series or ever, but I think the weight of the losing streak against Florida is not on this team, so they can just kind of focus on winning the game. The problem for Kentucky is I think Florida's really good and better than I thought they would be offensively. Emory Jones has been very, very good at quarterback. I think last week against Tennessee, 200 yards passing, 100 yards rushing. He's settled in a little bit there. Anthony Richardson could be back at some point. I don't think they're great at running back, but their offense seems to be humming. But Kentucky has been good offensively. Will Levis gets a lot of pub. A lot of people talk about him from his banana eating skills and his big right arm. What they did not look great last week. They only scored 16 points at South Carolina. South Carolina's got a good defensive line, but they're not great defensively other than that. They only scored 28 against Chattanooga. So I'm intrigued by this game. It's a great docket on Saturday. I'm not going to say this is the game I'm looking forward to the most, but I think this is, like you said, Darren, a really, really good game. I'm picking Florida just because I think their offense is really good, and I've been a little alarmed by Kentucky's offense the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, 33-1 is just doesn't sound as good as 34-0. You know, so yeah, Florida
No
has
doubt.
won 33 of the last 34 meetings. Yikes.
Yep.
Spans a long time. We're talking to Mitch Light from The Athletic, talking college football as we do every week at this time. So, Mitch, I wanted to try to put in perspective because there's different levels of rebuilding, especially when it comes to Vanderbilt football. You and I have seen a lot of them. And after a game like Saturday, where it was just so tough to watch, I mean, I was there. I went to the game. It unraveled so quickly. I don't think I've ever seen a game get that lopsided that quick. And, of course, you're playing one of the best in Georgia. But it got me thinking a little bit of what did Clark Lee inherit? Because I don't know that it's fair to have this be a reflection on what he's doing right now, because I just don't see, even relative to other Vanderbilt teams, the talent level. It's really sketchy right now.
Yeah, there's so much more to, talent is obviously a huge part of the equation, Willie, and coaches, certain coaches, like we talked about Sam Pittman, have the effect where they can come in and they can, get everyone on the same page and everyone's, the message is resonating and all that, and that's great. But when it comes down to it, you got to have some players. And I agree. I look at this roster, and I don't know if there's an NFL player on the roster. Maybe some of the young guys. Maybe Davion Davis is the guy I know they're really high on, although his production hasn't been great. So you look at the roster, and it's just not there. And then you're going against the Georgia roster. It's kind of the perfect storm in a bad way. One of the most that's probably the most talented Georgia team Vanderbilt's ever played, or in the past 20 years. And this is probably the least talented Vanderbilt team. So when things go bad early, they're going to unravel. We've talked about this a lot, and I did a little research earlier today. The 2000, because a lot of Vanderbilt fans rightfully will say, well, look what James Franklin did his first year. They go 6-7, and took over a team that went 2-9. And that argument, that's a fine argument. I'll ask you, Willie, how many future NFL players do you think were on the first James Franklin team? James Franklin inherited ex-NFL players on that 2011 team.
Well, just off the top of my head, they had Jordan Matthews, they had Zach Stacy, they had Casey Hayward. So that's the first three that just pop into my head. Three really, really good players. Now, of course, that's only three, but I think there were some others.
Jonathan Goff on that team?
No. Goff was Bobby Johnson.
Oh, he was not, but there were some offensive linemen. Go ahead, tell us the answer.
Okay. The answer is 10.
10.
And does not include Chris Marv, who was a 3-time All-SEC player who just – it was weird. He said maybe he just wasn't a prospect. He didn't even go to, the combine.
Was Earl Bennett on that team or no?
No. So all correct is Zach Stacy at running back, 3 offensive linemen, Ryan Seymour, Wesley Johnson, and Spencer Pulley. And these guys weren't just a cup of coffee in the NFL. They've all played multiple years. Brandon Barden at tight end, Jordan Matthews. On defense, 4 guys in the secondary, Kenny Ladler, Casey Hayward, Andre Howe, and Sean Richardson. All those guys were in their 3rd year of the program or more. So it wasn't like, okay, yeah, that guy's a future NFL player, but he's a freshman who didn't play. So, again, this is just kind of frame of reference. Give James Franklin – I'm a huge James Franklin fan. He deserves all the credit in the world for turning things around so quickly. But it's not apples to apples, the roster. Bobby Johnson did a very sneakily good, that's not really a word, but recruiting job later in his tenure. And a lot of that was after breaking through in 2008, going to a bowl game and showing, hey, you can come here and go play in the postseason. Now, most of these guys weren't that highly rated, so give that staff credit for identifying guys. And then, Franklin's staff, and I've talked to Bob Shoop about this in the past, they developed some of those guys too. And, Bob Shoop used to always tell me they just inherited a good group of guys, really coachable group of guys who bought into what they were doing. So, in this current roster, will one of these guys, multiple guys, make the NFL? Who knows? Some of them, a lot of them, young guys are playing. But I knew sort of the numbers there, but I was even surprised when I looked it up. And then real quick, frame of reference, Bobby Johnson took over in 2002 a roster that had 5 future NFL players. Jay Cutler, Justin Geisinger, offensive lineman, Javon Hay, Hunter Hillenmeyer, and Russian Jones.
Yeah, and that first year was really rough for Bobby Johnson. You had a true freshman in Jay Cutler that just sort of
redshirt freshman.
A redshirt freshman, yes.
Yeah,
And fortunately for him, for Bobby Johnson, he had a quarterback at least that had some talent there. So it's just interesting to compare the different things, the hand that you're dealt. And with that said, Mitch, a lot of people will say, well, hey, with this transfer rule, can you not make it happen quicker? Can you go get some guys that are not getting playing time at different places and maybe speed up a rebuild? So what's Clark Lee and his philosophy on that front?
Well, that's going to be interesting because he has said he is not. They don't intend to hit the transfer portal very hard. I wouldn't say they're not going to do it at all, but he wants the guys to bring in and kind of develop in their system and their culture. But that's in today's game. That's difficult to do. And not saying you don't need to be like Michigan State this year. It's like 14 starters, something like that, who are transfers. And I don't think that's not healthy in the long term for any program. But I actually thought Derek Mason late in his tenure did a good job grabbing some transfers, some grad transfers from Ivy League schools who kind of they plugged in and weren't big-time players but were contributors. And he got hurt, but Raymond Davis, the running back who was one of Vanderbilt's best offensive players, was a transfer from Temple who transferred in before the coaching change last year. So that's going to be something interesting to watch if this staff kind of stays true to their belief that they don't want to bring in a lot of transfers, because you're inevitably going to lose some every year. And it's not a Vanderbilt problem. It's a college. It's across the board there. So if you're not bringing a lot in and you might lose a starter or two every year, just kind of do the math there. So that will be something to monitor going forward.
Mitch Light is with us from The Athletic talking some college football. All right, the game of the week that I am so pumped about, Ole Miss, Alabama, in Tuscaloosa. Lane Kiffin looking to become the first Saban assistant to beat him. It hasn't happened to this point. They had a shootout last year. So on a scale of no chance to I can't believe what I just saw, where would you put Ole Miss's chances of winning this game?
Much closer to, how do you phrase it? I can't believe what I just saw. I think it's going to be a really good game, a really entertaining game. We saw what Florida did running the ball against Alabama. Ole Miss has a good running game. We think of Matt Corral and not just him running, but they've recruited very well at the running back position. This is a legit offense. And, we saw last year they couldn't stop Alabama defensively. They scored, 40-something points on them. Great game. Frustrated Nick Saban, but they were right there, and they're better this year. And this is not an original stat. A friend of mine, Bill Troche, who Willie knows well, just texted me this before, and I hope Bill wasn't going to use it on anything because I'm stealing it right now. But the last team to beat Nick Saban in the regular season while throwing at least one interception was 2000 LSU, the 9-6 overtime game. So basically you have to be perfect to beat Alabama in the regular season.
That is quite the stat. Do you think – it's funny because we talked to Vince Ferrara earlier, who covers the Vols in Knoxville that we have every week. He feels like Ole Miss is going to beat Alabama. He said, I think Ole Miss is going to win, is how he worded it. So to hear you say that makes me even wonder even more if this could possibly happen. So is that because you think you know what Ole Miss's offense is, but are you that impressed by their defense or see an improvement in their defense that makes you think they can hang?
Improvement. We saw what they did to Louisville in week one, and Louisville ended up scoring 24 points, but a lot of that was late. Tulane's a pretty good offensive team. We saw what they did to Oklahoma, though Oklahoma's, you can debate how good they are, but they're not, obviously they still have Oklahoma talent. So they're clearly improved. Now, that's a team that plugged some guys in the transfer portal. They didn't go crazy there, but they plugged some fits in there that they look for specific fits at different positions, and that's panned out there. So it's a little bit it's a combination of a little bit of everything, Chase. That I think Ole Miss is really good. I think they're obviously legit on offense, improved on defense. Alabama's showing a little bit of vulnerability. Now, this might be a Nick Saban game where he just does what Eli Manning did on national TV last night to everybody and just says we're still Alabama, and they're up 28 to 7 in the second quarter, and then we're all wondering why we thought Ole Miss was going to win. But on paper, I'm excited to watch this game.
You're saying Lane is going to do a double barrel?
No, I think Nick Saban's going to do figuratively, not literally.
Oh, well, Eli did.
That's going to be what he's going to show the world. Like, we're still Alabama. Nice try, Ole Miss.
I love the way he did it, and then goes, "We can do that, right? They can just blur it out." And it's like, yeah, Eli, you already did it.
It's live TV.
It's live TV.
There's not a delay.
Oh, that was fantastic. Always appreciate it,
By the
Mitch.
way, you guys know who? You know who? I'm sure that's Eli Manning's old man cave down there. Do you know who his neighbor is?
Who his neighbor is?
Willie could probably guess.
This is in New Jersey, right, or New York, or wherever.
Al Leiter.
Al Leiter.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. Long story short, when my son had a high school baseball game this year against Chris McElwain's brother, Ethan McElwain, at Nolensville, I put something on Facebook like, "Hey, Gabe's baseball game. He's playing against the Vanderbilt commit." Some friend of mine from high school, a girl's like, "Oh, my daughter went to elementary school with a Vanderbilt baseball player, Jack Leiter." I was like, "Well, yeah, I know who Jack Leiter is." So I said, "Hey, what's that?" And she said, "The funny thing is, he's not even the most famous person on the street." So Eli Manning was across the street. So.
Eli's got dibs, I guess, in the big picture. Two Super Bowls.
Some good stick wiffle ball games on that street.
Man, it's a high level.
Mitch, good stuff as always, man. Have a good rest of your day.
All right, take care, guys. See ya.
Mitch Light from The Athletic. We'll come back and wrap up the show. By the way, there's some stuff out there Adam Schefter put out about Marlon Mack. Spot Rack has also put out some stuff about Marlon Mack, so we'll discuss that. And Philip Forsberg has also talked to the media about his future here. So a lot of things to get to wrap up this Tuesday edition of Darren, Daunic, and Chase. But first, speaking of Chase, he's got a word about BetMGM.
I sure do, because let me tell you what to do. I have had some fun using the one-game parlay feature. It has worked well for me. I've missed just a couple of things too, but you can bet on more than the final score during football season with one-game parlay at BetMGM. It's an exciting feature designed to help you make selections within a single game from over 400 bet types, including my favorite team and player props. All you have to do is log into your BetMGM account, create your best parlay before the game starts. One-game parlay is the fast and easy way to combine your same-game win, total, and prop picks. If you're new to BetMGM, sign up today and make your first bet risk-free up to $1,000. All you have to use is the bonus code 1025GAME. You can place one-game parlay bets on pro and college football, baseball, soccer, and more. Go ahead and take your favorite player to score, the home team to cover, and the over in touchdowns. Log in today or download the BetMGM app to try one-game parlay. New customer offer, paid and free bets. You must be 21 years or older, must be in Tennessee. Visit BetMGM.com for a full list of terms and conditions. For problem gambling support, call the Tennessee Red Line at 800-889-9789.
Titans. Jets. It's time to take care of business in the Big Apple. Tune in Sunday at 9:30 for NFL pregame with Jared Stillman, Chris Sanders, and Mark Howard. Live from Corner Pub in Brentwood. We are Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. More sunshine in store for us today. Temperatures will work their way from the 70s to the middle 80s when it's all said and done this afternoon. Storms back the second half of this week.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Hey, it's Chase McCabe of Darren, Daunic, and Chase. This Saturday's featured SEC college football game at 2:30 is Alabama taking on Ole Miss. Come out and watch the action with me at Brewhouse West on Charlotte Pike. We'll have great prizes and even more fun.
Bring everything up to speed with the Novatech Managed Office. Novatech's Managed Office portfolio consists of 4 key pillars that provide a unique, holistic approach to business technology, bringing together hardware, software, and services for IT, print, cloud, and security. Novatech's mantra: get it all, get it right, and get it now. From a technology partner you can trust. Let Novatech manage your business technology so you can focus on what matters most, your business. Learn more about the Novatech Managed Office and request a free Office X-ray technology assessment at novatech.net. That's novatech.net.
Screwball Peanut Butter Whiskey is the official whiskey of the NFL pregame broadcast on ESPN 1025 The Game. Screwball is the original and most awarded peanut butter whiskey in the world. Made with real whiskey, peanuts, and peanut butter, Screwball is all natural flavor to be enjoyed as a straight shot, in an espresso martini, peanut butter old fashioned, or a PB&J shot with a berry liqueur. Check out screwballwhiskey.com/recipes for more. Be sure and ask for Screwball by name at your favorite watering hole in Nashville.
Enjoy responsibly. 2021 Screwball Spirits LLC, San Diego, California. Whiskey with natural flavors, 35% alcohol by volume.
Hey, it's Jared from my friends at Edmunds. Buying a car can be overwhelming, especially now that the demand is back and in full swing. Lucky for you, Edmunds has been taking the stress out of car shopping for over 50 years. Edmunds editors drive over 500,000 miles every year, testing thousands of hours on hundreds of new vehicles. They review almost every car on the market and rank the best ones in each category. So you can narrow that search and compare options side by side to find the best vehicle for you. And when you're ready, Edmunds makes it easy to find options in your area with accurate price estimates. Edmunds has top-rated awards, which are selected by their editors. You can rank it however you'd like. Edmunds is here to guide you to your perfect vehicle. Visit Edmunds.com to see their best car rankings and search for vehicles near you. That's EDMUNDS.com. For cars, there's Edmunds.
Hey, it's Elijah Campbell from Darren, Daunic, and Chase, and I got my radio start right here as an intern at ESPN 1025 The Game. It was an excellent experience, and we're now looking for new interns. If you think that's you, go ahead and send your resume over to together@cromwellmedia.com to apply.
Jared Stillman.
This show, if you're a listener to it, I think is educated enough to know what a good general manager is.
And Company.
At the end of the day, wins really are all that matters.
Tune in Stillman and Company for your drive home. Delivered by TriStar Moving. Weekday afternoons from 2 to 6 on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Interact with Darren, Daunic, and Chase. Call or text the show at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
This is the end. Beautiful friend.
Back here on Darren, Daunic, and Chase, presented by Creation CBD. Creation CBD products curated for life. Chase, tell everybody where you're going to be tailgating on Saturday.
You know, that's a great question you bring up. I am going to
You're going to be at the Brew House West.
I know where I'm going to be. I was just setting it up. You know, I know where I'm going to be. I'm going to be at the Brew House West, which is on Charlotte Pike. One of my favorite hangouts. I go in there all the time. So I do. I really do. It's right by my house. So I will be in there starting around 2:30 for Ole Miss, Alabama. Cannot wait for that matchup. So come by, say hello. Had some good turnouts the last couple of weeks since we started this. Chasers Tailgate. They'll have beer specials and great food, and you can hang out with me. So come on by and let's watch some football.
This is a really good weekend, by the way.
Oh, I love the matchups
This is
weekend.
a really good weekend. I think we'll have lots to choose from on Thursday for sure.
I mean, Cincinnati, Notre Dame, and Ole Miss, Alabama are going to be happening at the same time.
Yeah, that's a shame too, by the way.
I know.
Adam Schefter tweeted out, one reason the Colts running back Marlon Mack did not play on Sunday is because, he said, per league sources, the team is considering trading him. Mack's on a one-year deal. He's healthy and still can be productive. According to SpotRack, Marlon Mack has $833,000 left on his remaining one-year deal with the Colts. A trade this week would leave behind $1.16 million of dead cap to Indy.
So I mean, the team that acquires him, it's a
tradable. It's a very tradable contract, which is very hard to find these days in the NFL. Most of the people who are on the trade deadline, there's a reason, and usually it's related to the contract, but this is a very tradable contract.
Yeah.
So we shall see.
What does that mean for the price, though? You know,
that's the question.
Right.
That might make it easier for the Colts to shop around and say, well, what are you going to give us? If they can get a couple, 3 different teams competing who really need a running back, that is what the Colts would be looking for.
I think the Ravens are definitely going to be in the market. There's no doubt about that. I'm trying to think of, I mean, Seattle, I wasn't impressed with their running game. I know they're 1-2, but they're still good. Could they use a little help back there? Yeah, I think they could. I think that's a team that could show some interest. I mean, what about the Rams? I mean, I know they're 3-0, but they did lose Cam Akers for the season. I mean, I don't know. Are they satisfied with everything? I don't know.
I mean, Sony Michel wasn't
they
bad.
You're right. They did trade for Sony Michel, so that's a good point. So
but
maybe
what is he? I was curious about Sony Michel, but that's an interesting one. The Rams. That's an interesting one.
I mean,
because I don't know if they're that thrilled about Sony Michel right now.
Yeah, I don't know if they are either. I mean, think about it. They're going for it. I mean, they know they're good.
Yeah, this is an all-in thing.
They're all in. I mean, they've already been all in. They have not been afraid to make moves. We know that. I mean, think about it. Jalen Ramsey got there via trade. Matthew Stafford got there via trade. They're not afraid to go out there and go for it.
I think Maddox is going to graduate high school by the time they pick in the first round again.
Yeah, that's a good point. This pace, well, they're not going to give up a first-round pick for Marlon Mack. He's going to come on the cheap. I'm trying to think. Patriots lost James White. I don't know how long he's going to be out for a while. I mean, maybe the Patriots have interest. Do the Titans have any interest? Don't know. I think they should have some interest. I don't know. I mean, Adam Schefter just tweeted out he's healthy and still can be productive.
I think we can have this discussion tomorrow too, because I was thinking about this when you brought up Marlon Mack and the Titans. We're getting to that point where you're almost a month into the season. This is when you really start to see what you have as a team, where you are health-wise. I mean, we've talked about all that, but it's also in the last few years where you start to see trades happen around the NFL, and the Titans have been active at the trade deadline. They have made some acquisitions. We remember King last year when they needed help at corner. They got him. So are there some names that are going to be popping up out there that maybe John Robinson would want to look at as the season goes on? I think is it still week 8 is the trade deadline? I know we got a while, but I'd be curious, to discuss that.
Philip Forsberg today was asked at camp, is it still a goal of his to finish his career here and to be a part of this team moving forward? And said, are you still wanting that, or is this a wait-and-see approach? Philip Forsberg responded by saying, I have no rush to sign. I mean, I still have a full year. I don't know. I feel like you have to play your contract out. Obviously, I have a full year. I love this place. I've loved every minute since I got here. I definitely feel like we have a really good opportunity to make something great, not just this year, but going forward as well. Like, it is business, and everything is going to have to be handled properly like that. That's I was reading those quotes from Robbie Stanley that tweeted that out.
Hi, I'm a non-committal answer. Nice to meet you. But
well,
what do you expect?
I don't know what you want him to say.
I mean, yeah, what do you expect him to say? Yeah. Actually, it's not a bad answer if you're trying to, not necessarily dodge the question, but give an answer, non-answer. So.
Well, I guess to me, the way I viewed it is he did kind of give something. I'm in no rush to sign.
Yeah, I think it's a wait. I think it's a wait and see.
They're not even close to anything.
I think you're right. I think that's fair to say.
All right, guys, good show. Good stuff. That'll do it for our show today. Have a great rest of your Tuesday. Continue to be safe. We want you back with us tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Stay tuned. Stillman & Company's next.
The voice of reason.
All of those question marks that we needed to see on the field, all of those things that we were worried could possibly happen, happened.
The voice of the fan.
And so now you got a situation.